And we're live with the 24th ESOU podcast. And this time we are, again, sitting down with Alywels, who stole a chair from me. And we're now, we're featuring Lord Vengian. Am I saying that right? I never can remember how.
Yeah, it's Lord Vengian, yeah. A lot of people just say Vengian or Vengian, or Lord. Some people just say Lord. Okay. But that's a title, but nowhere.
Do you actually own land? What's your claim to be a lord?
Well, I have this house, and that's about it.
Okay.
Well, so I don't have
land, I guess.
I live a piece of land. It's not enough to actually be lord. No, that's.
I think you only need like a square meter or something to be like a lord.
Are you talking about that Scotland stuff where like
you can buy a lordship.
You can buy a piece of land to get a lord title. Indeed,
isn't that a scam?
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's
it's totally a scam. Yeah,
it's like one of those things where you can buy a star, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
a bit of land on the moon.
You never know if you actually bought the stars, so maybe they sell it to like 4 people, and no one knows. It's not like your flag is on the star now, is it?
Okay, so you are a lord, and you own some land. What else can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Lord Vengian. I am, first and foremost, I am a full-time IT admin. So during my days, I help the people in need with any kind of computer problems. So, from the simple things that we work for a university. So I do have a lot of, I have like 20,000 students and like 5,000 to 6,000 people that we need to help. So there's always something to do for those that need. And I do like the back end management for the systems there. So updates and make sure everything works the way it's supposed to. And then like get no credit for anything that happens that's good. That's always how that works. We're almost in the basement, but it's not exactly yet. Not yet. Close to about.
It's funny you say I do literally exactly the same thing during the day. Apart from I've only got 100 students, and
well, that's enough.
All the emails I get are, I can't access this, and then I tell them, have you signed in? And they haven't signed in, so I tell them to sign in, and then it works.
Oh my god!
Yep.
That's my day.
It was terrible when we were doing remote learning and remote teaching with Zoom. Oh my lord! And everyone was like, I'm not gonna get into that. But yeah, okay, cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
In terms of ESO, I guess what do you do? I know you're a guild master, right?
Yeah. So let's go a little bit back into ESO. But I started playing ESO when the game came out on console. I saw my brother actually play it on PC before, while I was at the meantime I think waiting for Guild Wars 2 at the time it came out. I was hopping MMOs a little bit because I was trying to get my MMO fix. I was also trying to get my PC to work with a controller because I wanted to play MMOs with a controller. So yeah, really, I love just getting a bit sitting on a couch or something like that, and then just playing from there. That worked for a little bit, but eventually ESO came around, and it came around on console with one Tamriel when it came out, and actually started playing since, and I've never stopped. It's there has been some times where it's been a bit on the low side, especially at the start when. If you can hear dogs, they're from my neighbors. They.
No, I don't hear anyone.
Loud. No, okay, that's good.
I had a little like.
That's a good noise filter. Discord has. That's awesome. No, so we were playing quite a bit. I was playing quite a bit of ESO, mostly solo. I was mostly a solo player, especially at the start. I used to not be on communications on comms at all. I was just always listening, and if I was typing. So I think I've been playing for, so I think, 2015, 14, when it came out on console.
Yeah.
I started working on that. I actually started a sorcerer, and specifically an Imperial sorcerer. In 2015, thank you, Gabison. In 2015, started an Imperial Sorcerer, and I always wanted to be a tank. I've always been tanks in other MMOs as well, because I like to control the battlefield and like face tank everything and get the illusion that I keep people safe. And that actually worked out pretty well, because eventually I wanted to be Sorcerer Imperial, and as time goes on, sorcerer tanks actually became more and more present as well in terms of tanking. So I was glad that eventually that picked up a bit, because at the start I'd always get a message from, oh, I've never seen a sorcerer tank before. And that kind of started into in a way there. So yeah, just playing by myself, playing. I actually did normal dungeons till I was like CP 400 or something, because I thought I wasn't never good enough to do veteran dungeons, which is real weird if I consider now back. I'm now CP 1800. I just hit that. If I look back at the time, I could have started way earlier, right? And that's why I give people incentive to actually do start earlier. And it's the game has helped me personally as well. It's always been like a safe haven, and I think that's for a lot of people, especially community that we have. It's one of I would say the better communities out there. So yeah, it's been a fun ride. And actually I think when COVID hit, that's I think maybe a plus point that we had from COVID is that the moment COVID hit, actually, I'm always a one-person character, a one-player person character. So I had one character, and that was it. I was saving all my money because I already had my gear and I already had everything. So money-wise, it's always good. Started saving up and eventually started making a couple of other characters, but yeah, like they're collecting dust. Especially with the armory system kit that came out, it's just like, okay, let's go dabble in DDing, let's go dabble in maybe healing a bit. Especially in DDing, since the armor system came out, it helped so much in terms of now being able to. I did VMA twice now. Second time, it only took me 2 hours. That wasn't too bad. And the other one, Veteran Hollows as well. So I never thought I could do that until the actually armor system came out, which is just like an awesome plus when it did. And when I look at the trial bit, and that's the thing that really got me into ESO, it was always a single player game for me, right? I saw other people interacted when I needed to, especially in a dungeon. And only when COVID hit is when I actually ran into a Italian guild. And they pulled me into a VSS for the first time ever. It was my first ever veteran trial, and they pulled me as a tank into VSS.
Okay.
No experience.
The hardest.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. No experience. I knew some things because I read them before. And they pulled me in, and I thought, yeah, okay, let's give it a shot, right? Why not? I did normal twice or three times. And I got pulled into there, and then they actually didn't know any English, and they had like 3 or 4 people that spoke English. So they wanted me to translate, or not translate because I don't speak Spanish. They wanted me to explain in English what the mechanics were. So I kind of was like thrown for the block from, yeah, okay, you do the English version and we do the other one. As someone who never actually spoke on... as someone who actually never spoke through a mic before, except for maybe like old school and I did some Gears of War or something like that, that was the first time I actually started leading or trying to lead something. Super nervous, of course, first time on mic. And I thought, okay, well, let's give it a shot, see what happens. I mean, can't go worse than it already could, because we just...
Right.
We couldn't get like 90% on the first boss, and we just couldn't do it. 90% wasn't too bad though, but still, too many ads. It was done. For at the time, I mean, it was a good thing. So I eventually started working with them more and more, set up a raid program with them, and actually started taking over leading for them. Yeah, some guitar interlude there. I started leading over there, and that's when I met quite a few of other English people who were actually also in that guild, pulled into there, and eventually I got into the leading bit, and starting very nervously. I think we picked up quite a lot of people who actually liked my voice at the time. That was definitely my main starting point. My voice at the time. At the time, also, I was still married, so I was sitting like in the living room. I had like my mic very close to my mouth and was almost whispering, the like ASMR like voice that we all know and love.
Yeah.
And that's how it started. And it took, I think, half a year, met some people, went into a different progression group. And after almost a year of doing that, so we had a progression group, multiple progression groups. We had the trials, both normal and veteran. I started leading more and more, learning as we went along. Also trying to learn different ways of telling people, of asking people how they could do it. If they couldn't do it in one way, we started looking at solutions to see how we can circumvent the problem and make sure that we can at least progress in the trial. Because there's more ways that lead to Rome, and in trials it's exactly the same, which actually leads us to the Vitality program in a little bit. But so after about a year, they took someone else in, and they took another Spanish person in, and that person was starting to lead trials for them in Spanish. And they did VAS, which is not the hardest trial to do, right? But they did VAS, they completed VAS, and then they put me to side, saying, okay, we're going to go further with him. And they set up a whole different program and everything, and put everything I did from last year aside. In the meantime, another guild was literally crumbling because they had some internal issues. Let's give it a that. And that kind of got me into that new guild with a lot of friends that I made from the other one. Too bad about that guild is that all the friends that I made actually followed me into that guild, and some of them were already in there. So, that other guild kind of crumbled out of its own. They had one success, and then they shouldn't have done that. But now, unless I know what they did and why, it's not the best. But anyway, that brought me into a trading guild. Actually, it was a trading guild. It was like a very small guild, like 100, 150 people. There were a lot of inactive people, so the active base would be around 100, 150. And they were doing quite a few trials. They had a few decent trial leaders as well. They were learning and getting stuff up as they went along. Kept that up for almost half a year, I think, until they actually gave control over to me, because the current trial or guild leader didn't want... he was kind of done with it. It was a trading guild first and a PvE guild second. So that wasn't really what he wanted, and he got a lot of weird feedback from staff. I was at the moment one of those staff, and there were like 5 people running the guild, and it wasn't really going the right way, I would say. So it happened, had some issues here or there. They just eventually decided, okay, he's the nicest guy we have there, so we're going to give him the guild. And with the only circumvent that they said is you have to rename the guild. You have to rename it. It has to be something else. You have to rebrand it. Well, I took that to heart. I took the few people we had with us. We thought about it. We put a very good plan together. One thing first of all, we wanted to have a PvE guild. We wanted to have a place where people can come and hang from different platforms. We'll focus on Xbox EU first, but different platforms where they can learn and where we can teach others to have fun and play the game, because there is still a lot of toxicity in ESO. It's not as much as that you would say in other MMOs, right? It's still there, but in a lot less perspective. And we wanted to have a place where everyone could do that. And I mean, to go back to the first time I actually ran a normal trial, for instance, it was also normal Sunspire. I was a tank. I saw a video, I think it was from Nefes at the time as well, where I think the tank was standing on the right side of the dragon's head and not the left side. So I went in, there was no communication. I was standing on the right side, and the whole group was also standing on the right side. And then they kept dying of the dragon, and then they told me, go to the left side. So I stood on the left side. They kept dying in normal. I thought, what am I doing wrong? And then you get the usual, right? Fake tanks suck, and all the stuff that comes with it.
You're on your Sork as well?
I was on my same Sork tank, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, same thing. And then I came to the realization is, what the issue here is that I didn't know all the mechanics. I know some stuff, but I didn't know anything, especially in normal. And a lot of other people didn't know their mechanics either, and there was no one leading the trial at the moment, and that was before I started even leading myself. So I thought, okay, that's something that I want no one to have. I mean, if that happens, there's a lot of people just throw the game away and will never come back, right? It's something that's just detrimental to a game if something like that happens and people just throw you out.
Yeah.
So no one wants that, right? No one wants it. And again, something for the Vitality program, which is just amazing in that way, is that we revised into Companions of the Green. That was our new name for our new guild. I made a logo, we did everything right. We focused on, of course, the color green, because for me, the color green represented Xbox and we were Xbox EU. For some other people, it represented something different. With Companions of the Green. But we eventually, yes. I realized that afterwards, but it went the right way. It's exactly what we wanted to. So we started building our community up. We had from 115 people. We are now a full-fledged 500 guild. On Xbox EU, we have 500 people in there. We have a maximum of, I think, 15 days in activity, and then there's like, for every person you kick, there's like 2 people waiting anyway. Wow. So we have a full-fledged that. We have had multiple raid leaders come in and actually got teached, and now helping each other in becoming better raid leads as well. Actually, that's what Nefis is doing too. And actually, we're doing really well. We saw people from different guilds coming over and helping out, and even staying as well. So we now have over, I think, 370 people in our Discord. And we went from I think we had 110 at the time when we were trading guild. A lot of people left because they didn't want to be trading, but a lot of people stayed because of the PvE side. And by being with our group, being like the nice guys who. Even everyone can come in, everyone can learn, everyone can do it. We just take the time. If it doesn't work, we'll try something different, but we'll get people through as much as we can. And especially in normal trials, I think most of our people know, except for the new ones that come in, we know our normal trials, and we take the time, even on veteran. You teach them, and then it's right. If you teach people how to do a trial, teach people how to do mechanics, then you don't have to do anything in terms of, right?
Yeah,
they can take their stuff, their experience with them, and when they do it somewhere else, they know exactly what to do, even if the raid lead isn't doing it for them. And that's what we wanted to do, and that's exactly what we actually got to do. We have an amazing community. I think we now have some leaders left. One of our most recent leaders actually left because we decided we don't want people to ask 70k for a VML run. Yes. Again, another tie into the same reason why, right? And to give an example, we did when Companions came out, we decided, okay, let's go do a challenge. We did 4 normal trials with 2 groups pitched against each other with 6 people and 6 companions. And they were at the time like level 2 or 3. Okay. And then one team was a little bit faster. Well, we're going to see which team won. I think it's 4-1 for Splash. Splash won like 4 out of 5 groups that we ran with. But it's like 6 people, 6 companions, and then run normal trials, different ones, and see who wins. Actually, if you do it with 6 people and 6 companions, it's very interesting, because then a normal trial feels like a veteran trial, just in terms of how long it takes to kill stuff. It's fun. And then we decided, okay, let's take it one step further. Let's do veteran Helra Citadel with companions, with 6 companions and 6 people. Okay, you did need to have a trick to get through. You have to do one side first and then do the other side. So otherwise you can't go. Yeah, you do left side first and you have to travel back down to the right side. Otherwise you can't get to the final boss. And it's actually possible to do that with 6 companions. So, it's amazing. And then we decided, okay, you know what? If we can do it with companions, then we can bring people in of any level, whether you're level 1, 10, 50, CP10, whatever. Bring anyone in and let's go do our dungeons and trials. And that's what we did. And that's what I think what got us as far as we got right now is we give everyone a chance, whether they're new or experienced. And no toxicity at all, of course, because that's what no one wants. And just give everyone a chance to do what they want to do. And, bring whatever you want to bring and show you that it's possible. And that's exactly what you're doing right now as well with the Vitality Project, right? And get a baseline for everyone to show that you don't need to burn everything. You just need to play mechanics, and that will bring you to the end.
Yeah, in a sense. Yeah. See that fun at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Just have fun.
Yeah. How do you feel, though, if you have too many people in your group that are playing the way they want and they're not doing enough to get you through the trial? because I've seen raid groups fall apart because of that as well. Like they have a very like relaxed attitude as to what people bring, and then the experienced raiders stop coming to help because they think it's a waste of their time. How do you keep the raids actually still running at a decent level?
Yeah, so what we do, we have a core group of players, and the core group of players are the ones that kind of stick with us, right? Those have, I mean, if they want to go do Godslayer, they can. I mean, we're not that far yet, but if they want to do Godslayer and they go into a different group and they want to do that, they can. We don't, it's not a prison, right? Everyone can leave whenever they want to. But we always search for people with the same mindset that we have. And I think the people we currently have running trials and also the people that are in the trials actually all have that same kind of mindset. Sometimes you get some people that really want to just do it for the fun. And then if you find just a few key moments where you can really focus, you can get through the parts, right? You can have fun 3/4 of a trial, just as long as there's a specific boss fight, like Female, for instance. Get to the twins, that focus at that moment, just at that moment, and then have some fun afterwards again. So sometimes you need a little bit of focus. And if you have some people that have some experience, that's perfect. If it's not, then we'll just teach them the experience. And we won't really, if we put up like a VMOL, for instance, we know it's going to take a bit longer. Because it might not even be done in one evening, and because it takes time for something like that to prog, especially people who haven't done twins before. It's a difficult thing to do. But once you get the hand of it, and that's what we did with one of our progs at the end of last year, I think, as we did VMOL, and we progged it for like 3 months, and we had a lot of switches in the groups as well. And eventually we had 3 clears after each other. Three times we ran, 3 times we had clears, just because everyone kind of knew what they were doing. And then you went to go into a normal VMOL, or if you go into a different group, those people take their experience with them. And then they kind of got, we get kind of like the renown eventually, where people want to learn. Or if people go into a different guild and they don't have the experience they need yet, they just send them over to us and we teach them experience. And some people do leave. Some people do want to go further on and do other stuff. And I think especially our guild is mainly at the moment, mainly a base guild, right? Well, a base guild is teaching the trials from start, and those that want to stay can stay. We have progression groups for VHOF, I think we're currently doing. We had a progression group for EUF, and we have different progression groups we have running. So if people want to do a little bit more of those, they can. But you can see, and I think we can all attest to that, but that ESO, especially lately, has a very big drop in terms of both players, but also in terms of like viewers and Twitch streamers and alike. There is a very big drop in ESO lately, and I think we've seen it since the expansion last year, that people are less interested in ESO. So we try and find different ways to keep them coming back, and some do, but some just don't touch the game for like half a year. And that's the one thing I really I'm a little bit sad about. But I know with expansions coming up, right, with the high all as well, that we will see some player returning, and then hopefully with everything that's coming and that we're doing in collaboration with the Vitality project, where we have now a very good baseline of how people can do trials. I think that will get a lot more people interested, and especially since we have one of the channels up right here on the ESO University Discord as well, where people can actually find the trials a lot easier than to find people to fill all the trials that we want to do. But yeah, that's the one downside, I would say, that if you keep doing the trials, at some point people think, oh, not again. Oh, I don't want to do this again. And then they kind of get bored. So we had a lot of times where we do like, okay, we'll do a 12 person, a 12 tank trial, or we do a 12 DD trial, or we do something like that. And it'll keep people a little bit interested. I think that we still need to do that last one though. But yeah, it'll keep people a bit interested doing it that way. Or we do like 2 teams, or a race between the 2, and then sometimes we even put like rewards out of it, and sometimes we just say, okay, make a level 1 character or level 10 and just let's do a trial. It's fun. Do something new.
Yeah, I think there's an inherent problem in the question you asked, Wally.
Go on.
What do you mean by like decent level? What do you mean by like
Well, I've been in like social groups which don't have any entry requirements, and after a while the players who feel like they're sort of carrying the group, they end up sort of getting frustrated and leaving because of the level of the... Well, I don't know why. I think it's because of the level of the gameplay, but so it can be very frustrating if you're hitting your head against a brick wall for forever. So it's how do you keep the players that are keeping the progression actually going with the high damage and the whatever. How do you keep those people interested?
I mean, I don't know. I think there's like an inherent issue with that because it's kind of assuming like they. I don't know, man. Like it feels like in that context, I guess in the general context, it feels like I don't think. I mean, obviously, there's gonna be a difference in personalities and goals, but I feel like a lot of more experienced raiders today are just, I don't know, kind of shitty, like entitled almost to a degree. Like,
yeah,
how do you as a raider? How do you not remember when you were, bad? You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people forget that, and then when they join these progs, it's like they don't remember that. I don't know why they don't have the
patience. They don't have the patience.
Why do you not have the patience when someone else had the patience for you in the past? It's so weird to me. I don't know.
Yeah, there is a I think we had that in the past before, after like the Italian guild, which I had. We started a prog with someone else, and that person wanted to do everything now and yesterday, right? And it's kind of like the mentality that most people have now is, okay, I'm going into VSS, I'm gonna get the VSS cleared tonight, or I'm going into for Godslayer. If it takes longer than a week, the group sucks. I'm gonna do something else, and that mentality is something that I think people should forget about, right? But if someone has that mentality, it's very hard to take that out of the person. And then some people do stay for it, but some people, if they have that mentality, they have that mentality for a reason, or they do it for different ways, and those people usually don't stick around anyway. And that's the person that, for instance, if you have a progression group where you're doing one specific trial and they are there for that specific trial, and then you complete the trial and then they never return. That's not why you would have a progression group to do different trials after each other, and not just rebuild your group every time you do a new trial, because then you won't get far enough. I think you need to take the time to appreciate the people that are there, and if they kind of want to help in a specific bit, they can, but know that progression groups just take time. And in terms of companions, for instance, right, we never ever asked for a DPS check, ever. We have had multiple progression groups. For normal, we don't have progression groups, we can do those, but for veteran as well, we never did ask for anything, even if we did VMOL or anything. I think, okay, you can check your DPS if you want to. We won't ask for you for it. We would rather that you bring enthusiasm in, and the willingness to learn the mechanics and things like that, right? Because DPS is one thing, but like we now noticed as well, you need very little DPS to actually do a lot of these trials. So. And we've always been doing that in that specific way. We now took the baseline of vitality and put it in our guild as well. So, because now when we're now at the fact that we're doing like VHOF and things, we do notice that the DPS is there, but we just need a bit of the experience in, and that just takes time. And if you keep switching out groups because people think it's too long, then yeah, you probably don't have the right person in mind that wants to do it. And I think that's the mindset that in the ESO community is, for 90%, it's a great mindset, that people just take their time and enjoy the game. And those that want to go into trials, the hurdles should not be big. People should want to experience it and see, oh, it's actually quite fun, and it's just like a public dungeon, just a bit bigger. And you say, oh, let's go do that together. That's fun. And then they kind of stay eventually. And then before you know it, we have one person in our guild, and one of our leaders actually took her in, and she did not do one veteran trial a year ago. She now has done all veteran trials, completed all veteran trials within the last year. I mean, she wasn't even hitting. She checked the DPS check when she started last year, and just to check out how the DPS went, right? And it wasn't very high at the time. And again, we don't really need a DPS tech anyway, but it was nice to see. And the amount she learned over the years, over the 1 year that she now has done all veteran trials within 1 year, because I think the 1st of June is, I think, the mile marker, so she even took it before then. And she's even done veteran some hard modes as well. I mean, if you can see how far you can get just by sticking to it and having some fun, then anything is possible, right? If you just have the right people around you to help you bring that up and not have, some people that just don't fit into that picture. And some people don't fit into that picture. And that's what I've seen a couple of times. We've had some people, and I had the experience a couple of times as well, where people just decide, okay, you suck. You're never going to make it. You're never going to do it. Just quit. And that's the thing. No, just teach people. That's a lot better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Can I actually? I've been curious because since this morning, actually, or since yesterday, about VMall on Xbox or console, or like Xbox EU in particular. So I've been talking to a couple raid leads from Xbox EU because they've been looking at our system where we have no, like in ESOU, we have no requirements, DPS or set-wise, for what we consider entry-level content, which is Craglorn hard modes, Craglorns, Vetmaw, and Vetmaw hard mode. And a couple of them said that, like, we don't do that. We don't do the VMall without like requirements and stuff like that. I'm just like, what? What do you mean? And they said like they do cracks first on Xbox, then they go to Sunspire, Vet Sunspire. I'm like, what? I was so confused, and I was like, what do you mean? And then they're talking about how like people blow up people. I'm like, but can't you kill people on Sunspire too? You know what I mean? It's like I don't really understand the logic there. Is it because people are afraid of twins prog, or what's going on there?
Yeah, I think
or
people are
like.
Yeah, if you look at Sunspire, right, especially in veteran Sunspire, aside from that you have to dodge on the final boss and you have a couple of things with 2 groups on the second boss, most of the time you would just, if you are used to dummy humping, for instance, or if you're used to just standing still and hitting a target, then VSS would be a lot easier, especially in console as well, right? Because you can just stand still and hit a dragon and then move with the rest of your group to the exit side and then work your way towards the other side. In the second boss, you would just, in your lKrmX, you just split up into 2 groups and you stand still. The one thing that you have to do is, like, sometimes you might need to focus on splitting up when you since you only can, for instance, with the ads as well. And there are safe strats for both, right? You just turn around, kill some ads, and then go back to the boss. It can take longer than it does. With twins, there's like, you could say, if you want to do VMOL, everyone needs to have done at least VMA once. Try it, right? You could say that, but it gives like another big baseline for people to actually do it. But I think VMOL is definitely a bit harder in terms of looking at 2 trials, not in terms of how much damage gets done, but twins in particular is a very steep learning curve, even on console as well, because people need to know when. Sometimes you don't even see it, right? Sometimes the game works against you, but that just happens. So, we'll try working around it. But the fact that you have the color swap, and the fact that you have entrance or exit, there's a lot of coordination in those 2 facts, and both of those facts can just destroy a whole group, right? If one person doesn't swap, or if one person goes the wrong way, or if one person, then the whole group can kind of die in one go. So in that case, VSS, I would say, is easier, but it's more in terms of how long it takes to teach someone to either stay in 2 groups and stand still, or these are the 3 mechanics you need to learn, and you have to move around it. And we've done VMOL multiple times where we've had to explain everything as we go along, and that's perfect because it takes a while to get used to it. Sometimes it takes a couple of runs to get used to it, as in a couple of evenings to get used to it. But eventually, once it clicks, once those 3 mechanics clicks, and the only way to do it is by focusing on one mechanic at a time, right? Because if you do all 3, then you kind of get overwhelmed sometimes. That's the one way I would say that VMOL would be harder than VSS. In terms of, you have to teach 12 people how to play a very specific mechanic.
I guess I understand it from a technical kind of perspective, but like from personal experience, after pugging VMall, even VMall hard mode on PC, and then even on Xbox NA, where I had to explain to people the mechanics and stuff like that. I mean, at worst, it took maybe like an hour to an hour and a half for the VMall clear. You know what I mean? So I don't really understand the...
I think in VMO everyone has to understand what's going on, right? Whereas in Sunspire you only need like 3 or 4 people.
But there's not much to
what's
understand at this point. It's from 2016. Street mechanics, as he said. It's kind of like...
Oh yeah, but if they've not done it before.
Just watch your feet, rotate, then you're done. And then just listen to the raid lead. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think there's a heavy DPS check, unlike in some cases in Sunspire. What about the ad phases in Navi? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a heavier DPS check than Twins or Arcade, for sure.
Well, there is ways to work around it, right?
Right.
Especially in there's ways to work around it if you have like half a group that uses their ultimate on the first pull and the second one uses them on the second pull. But I think a lot of people are used to, especially nowadays, we burn everything down, especially VMall, right? It's a very big experience in VMall to group everything together. Okay, if it takes longer than the second or third ads to appear, then the group is too slow, there's not enough DPS and it takes too long. Well, once you even get 4 DPS or 4 ads up, it's still possible to do it. You just save your ultimates, you group them good together, and you keep on going. If you want, you put some time stops on, make sure they don't move, and then it makes the life a lot easier doing it that way. And but to get people indeed, and especially twins is always a hurdle. And give an example, if you would do the normal, it's chaotic as well, even if you try and explain it a couple of times. Because everyone needs to. I think the problem is that people are sometimes scared to say when they don't understand it, because you rather want to explain it like 6-7 times. If I need to, I'll explain it multiple times. I made drawings and everything about how to move and which way and stand in different ways, and there are different ways to do it, right? There's some people who keep them in the middle, some people put them to the side, some people have like a circle in the middle where you just turn them around halfway. We even did it with where we kept the same group on the same side with the same color, and then you DPS the boss on the other side so you don't get the rings. I mean, there's different ways of... You don't get the negates in that way because there's no one in the opposite color on the other side. So there is different ways to do it, but it's very... I would say it mechanic-wise, I think it's harder for people to understand exactly what's going on. Because in terms of DPS, I get it, right? VSS is definitely a lot harder because there's just a lot more going on, a lot more health, and we have enraged ads and everything that we need to take down before even the boss even flies up. So in that case, I do understand it from that side, but in practical, at least, what I've seen is that indeed female, that specific part of female is always very either messy or hard, even if you do keep explaining it. And I'm not sure exactly where it comes from, even if you try to explain it in different ways, or someone is watching football while they're in a progression group, or they're doing something else, or they think they know it and eventually they don't, or they don't want to, or they don't dare to say something. And some people do want to rush indeed as well. So there's a couple of ways to get through it.
Okay.
But I get your expenses as well, right? VSS would be harder than VMall.
I'd say it's also harder on the supports too in Sunspire. I've had a lot more Sunspire vet pugs fail than I've had VMall pugs fail. I think I've actually I've seen on both PC and Xbox NA. Like personally, like VMall, like I don't know, like I just can't wrap my mind around the fact that a lot of people on Xbox seem to think that VMall is harder than Sunspire. I don't know. It's because I don't know. Like for tanking in Sunspire, because like in VMall, if your tank dies, you can recover very easily. Sunspire, not really.
It's a wipe.
Yeah,
no,
it's
there is that difference, right? And I think the difference is depends on how you look at it at both trials. Because if in terms of DPS, right? Then VSS is a lot easier, right? You stand still, you do your thing, you're done. Mm-hmm. If you look at VMall, in terms of DPS, then you have to do like 3-4 things at once. I mean,
It's
I'm
not
usually
also.
standing still and DPS some stuff, and now I have to move around and do stuff. I'm not sure how to do that.
But it's
So
not
it
at
is-
once though. It's just stand there.
It's one at once, yeah. It's
Right, it's
one
just
at a time,
one,
right? You have to do one thing at
then
a time.
2, then
And
3.
yep,
Right.
yeah. So,
That's-
but the fact that that happens, I think, is a bit hurdle. If you look at DPS or support sets, like supports like healers and tanks, then definitely VSS is like it's a lot harder, right? In terms of like healing ice or tanking like the boss or even the ads, it can get messy really fast. But I think it depends on if you would say tanks and healers would have a harder time in VSS. I think DDs have a harder time in VMOL. Because at least as tanks understand what they need to do in the healers, because cross heal and stuff, that's in VMOL, it's okay. But that's only 4 people, and that means there's like still 8 people that need to know what they're doing in 2 groups of 4, and if they blow up, then it happens. Or if they're not fast enough, so sometimes you're not fast enough, especially in console, because you don't get like a blinking light that says move.
Yeah, well, I've done it without add-ons too. And the PC pugs.
No, it is better. I love playing without add-ons. Don't get me wrong, right? It's amazing, and I think it really teaches you how to play the game instead of looking at a blinking light that comes up and says you have to move. I mean, it's amazing.
Okay.
I'm glad I play on console though.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people tend to bring up, oh, you're on PC, you're using add-ons, but the pugs I take on PC, they don't have any idea what add-ons even are, which is which will surprise some people. They don't even know what they don't know what specific add-ons to use. They even know that add-on you can use add-ons. And again, like I plugged it on Xbox, and it's like, I don't know. I just don't really see it yet. I guess I'll have to find out when I play a bit more. On Xbox.
It is still good, right? And it depends on how far a group people are in terms of how much trial experience they have, right? Some people go into VMOL because they want the skin, and they forget to go into VAA, Halra Citadel, and Sanctum Ophidia first, which actually teaches them specific mechanics in terms of how to work together and how to work as a group and how to when move and when not to move. Because if you don't have those basics down, then you can have a harder time in VMOL. But I think once you have the basics, you can do any of the trials.
Oh
right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's super easy, but you need, super easy, different. But a lot of people forget there's a lot of solo players that want to start into trials and then have a bit of a hurdle in terms of group content when they need to move as well. Put someone in AA for the first time, Ethereum Archive. When the first boss comes up, you have to go to either one of the rock or the bridge or any side. If someone doesn't know that, even if you tell them, sometimes they get very nervous and they don't move until it's too late. It's just a matter of experience, right? Trying it a couple of times and eventually get used to it. Or in the final boss, you can either spread out. You can either stack it together. But if you do get knocked down, make sure you block and then move back into group, and don't run back into group, because you just get chain lightning everywhere. But it's just a matter of and that's what we hammer on as well as companions. Just make sure, take the time, no worries. If something happens or if someone is feeling bad because they did something wrong, don't worry, we'll just try it again. We'll watch a bit on what's going on, maybe tweak it a little bit here and there, and we'll get you through it. We'll do it together and make sure you kind of understand a bit as well. And sometimes it takes a couple of runs for someone to really feel comfortable in a trial. Instead of doing it for the first time. And that was, for me, was exactly the same. The first time I did Sunspire, I was super nervous, and I got wing slapped all the time because I was standing too far on the left side, because no one told me I should not be standing there. And now it's just but that's kind of how, if someone new comes in, and I always encourage people. Someone says, I want to try tanking. Come in, let's do it. I'll show you exactly how to do it, and we'll do it together. And if it fails, don't worry. I'm there to pick you back up, or to take over when we need to, and then you get back to it when you can. And just teach that way. Give people a chance to get better and to feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of being trials, is to just be comfortable. I mean, if some have seen my trials as well, I'm very calm. In terms of trials, I mean, even when stuff goes horribly wrong, I'm always calm and relaxed, and that kind of keeps the group calm and relaxed as well. And and if something happens, okay, don't worry, we'll just do it again. We'll just take our time. We'll just maybe regroup, maybe rethink what we can do. And if people really get frustrated,
kick people out and then regroup.
No, not that way. We don't kick anyone. No. No, there's always a way around it, and there's multiple. If something doesn't work, try and figure a different way out to make it work, and not just say, "Okay, you suck, you're out, you're in." That's not how I do it, and it doesn't work.
Doesn't work long term, definitely.
I think you brought up an interesting point earlier with DPS players, I guess, having a harder time in VMod as opposed to Sunspire. I think that's fine. I think they should have a hard time. I think tanks, especially, tanks and healers, especially tanks though, I think needs, I don't know. I don't know how it is on Xbox EU. Like, do you guys have like a shortage of tanks or?
Yeah, everywhere. It's
okay.
I think the ratio to DDs to healers is like 1-5 maybe, or 1-10. So for every 10 DDs we have maybe 5 healers, and I think for every 30 DDs we have 1 tank or something. Mm-hmm. Because tanks are in short supply, and people keep fake tanking all the way. I mean, fake healer is okay. I'm a tank myself, but the amount of times I get into a fake healer, for instance, okay, that's one thing, but I can sustain myself even in veteran hard mode dungeons. So I don't have the issue there. But sometimes I see just people, if there is like a random veteran dungeon and one person like runs away, and then I as a tank just have to run after him, and then he dies, and then he starts to complain because he's already at the next boss and I'm still at the start. Then I mean, come on, there's not much to do about that. No, but yeah, there is always a shortage, and I think a lot of people don't like being a support role. I love being a support role, especially a tank. More than I would love doing like DPSing or even healing. I just love tanking, and I think a lot of people just don't. I had the conversation with a couple of people last, and they all said, I don't like it. I don't want to kill things. I just want to be a DD, mm-hmm. and I think if I'm going to be a DD, and I'll just probably die everywhere because I'm not used to being squishy. I think it's good that we have people with different mentalities. There's always people that play all 3 roles, right? We have those too. But yeah, the majority is still damage dealer. Very much so. Okay.
Yeah, I think if you had to make, 8 DPS software for the sake of 1 or 2 tanks, I'd do it at this point in time. Because going back to, on the other hand, like you mentioned, like, people just don't like tanking. But on the other hand, I think in ESO especially, compared to some other games, I think there's an enormous amount of pressure on tanks, for sure. There was this one Sunspire pug, I don't know if I ever told this to Ollie, the story, that I joined as a DPS, and there was a tank dying on Lockesties because he doesn't know how the fight works, and the group didn't tell him. And I didn't say anything, because at this point I'm just like, if I say anything, it's kind of like, people just don't like it when I say anything. But anyway.
Yeah, you don't want to be like condescending or...
Well, you just... I don't know. I've just learned in ESO, you just don't say anything.
Just don't say anything. Okay.
Even if you want to, like... I don't know. I've had so many experiences in the way past where if I'm trying to, like, give advice to somebody, people take that... people are very, like, offended by the advice, or, like, think that you're being, like... You're like looking down on them.
What to do.
You're a leader. So I'm just like, all right, well, I'm not saying anything anymore. So, but then I'm observing this group, and I'm observing how they treat this tank, and we keep wiping and wiping and wiping. And I'm just having fun, just streaming, and then they start going off on them in group chat. You know what I mean? They start calling him like a fake tank and shit like that, and then he leaves, right? Obviously, wait, who didn't leave?
Is the twist going to be that this is someone we know?
No.
Okay.
There's no twist. And then
it was Neltia the whole time.
and it's just, and then there we are sitting, because now the pug raid lead is asking in group chat, oh, does anyone have a tank? Does anyone? And the pug raid lead was also treating the tank badly, in my opinion. And he was, oh, does anyone have a tank friend? Anyone have a tank? And of course it fell apart because there's no tank. But then later on, these are the same people who look around and like, where are all the tanks?
Yeah, they you know what I mean? Tanks away.
I know, right? This is fucking silly, but I don't know, man. Like again,
the bully tanks away, and it comes back to right. Don't teach. If you ask for a tank or if you're doing something with a pug, then teach it, right? In terms of dungeon as well, if you run into a veteran random dungeon, aside from the fact that some people leave as soon as they see the title screen of the dungeon they don't like, but if people do, yes, it happens. Now, in dungeons and in trials, teach the people how to do it. If you see they're struggling, either whisper them and see if they can ask. And it's what you said as well, Nephis, is that if you would speak up, then people think you are, you know it better, or you didn't, and that's a mindset. I used to, I come from I'm very introvert, very close. Well, how do you call it? am still introverted, but I was a very quiet person, especially before I started streaming, right? And the fact that I'm now sitting here in terms of with you guys 2 years after I even picked up a mic for the first time, I mean, there's like a big difference in terms of growth, which comes out. And thanks to the ESOU community for actually giving me the chance to do that, as well as the people I met along the way. Very glad they gave me the chance to do that. But now if I run into those people, I'll just say it anyway. I mean, if they kind of think I'm elitist, or if they think I want to help, and if they don't appreciate help, then maybe those people need to go. I think it's easier to find like 8 DDs. I'll gladly wait and find 8 DDs instead of like people who bully a tank away and then kind of complain that there's no tank. But people are way too fast aggravated, or way too they're aggravated way too fast, or they're very impatient when something doesn't go, doesn't burn down, or doesn't go in the first couple of attempts. Mm-hmm. And then if no one, and especially if what you said, if the group stats and has to wait for a tank. Personally, if I had a tank and they bullied the other tank away, I would not speak up and say I have a tank. Mm-hmm. I think just I don't think anyone would even dare to come home, because then you'll have the exact same fate as the other tanks. Yeah. And it's just share knowledge. The only thing you can do, and if people don't accept the knowledge, that is to them, I would say. And I feel that's a mindset from a different MMO where a lot of people come from, where that is actually the toxicity and the mindset of a lot of people. And then they kind of get used to a different kind of MMO here. And I think I had that not so long ago. I do a lot of random pug dungeons as well, right? Especially on stream. And sometimes I just have to start explaining everything. And I have to type it out because I'm not in voice chat on game. And then we actually get through it. It takes me like 2 hours to do maybe Imperial City Prison or whatever, but we get through it. Mm-hmm. And then I think, okay, now well done, have everyone well done. And some people get their first clear. And sometimes you have like one person who tries to kick everyone, and you can actually see that they try and kick everyone because they just get the check mark every time. Mm-hmm. And then I said, just cool that guy, we can get through it, and then they kind of leave, and then someone else comes in who is chill, and then we just do it. Especially with the new dungeons as well. That's how we did. I think the first time I cleared the veteran dungeon of, the one where you get Nazare.
Corollary. Shipwright's Regret.
Shipwright's Regret, thank you. Yeah, that one. So the first time I did that one, it took me like 2.5 hours. And the very first time we got to the final boss, we couldn't kill it. The second time I did it with a pug group, I think. And it took me like 2.5 hours explain. And we got 2 people who switched, 2 DDs who rage quit or left. And then we had 2 other people in, but we finished it. And we were about to give up when we got the other 2 people, and we just did it. And we even did all the secret bosses as well. The only thing we didn't do is hard mode, because that's a different story. But I'll leave that one for another time.
Tough,
yeah. So just give the time, and if people don't want to teach, then that's on them. But if people don't, keep treating other people like shit, and that's in the real world as well, right? If someone would treat you like that, you'll probably say something else to them, or you'll just remove them of your life completely if they keep doing that, right? And for some reason, and that's online, right? It still counts as online bullying or online. It's too easy. There is no line they don't cross, and that's, I think, something that's just. And I'm not sure that's specific to ESO, right? It's in any game, it's in any MMO. I mean, even if I don't play a lot of shooters, and I remember when I do play a shooter here, I haven't played one in a long time, but I can see enough movies and I can see enough videos of people like rage ramping on some people. I think, oh my god, no, that's no, yeah, it's not the right mindset.
What would you say is the trial that people come back to the most, and they want to keep doing it even after they say they've done everything, but they want to keep doing that one trial?
Good question.
Or do they?
What's the one trial that a lot of people keep doing?
Yeah, what's the most popular one for sign-ups?
Like ever?
Oh no, I mean, I guess it depends on what's recent.
Yeah, it depends on, right? I would say it's. I think Sunspire is and will always stay a trial that a lot of people want to do, not only because of the awesome fact that there are like 3 dragons you can kill, and it's actually a trial and not just 3 bosses and that's it.
I hate that trial.
It's actually you hate the trial.
I fucking hate Sunspire. It's the worst trial in the game.
People love it. People love Sunspire.
I don't know why, but okay.
It's a bit boring.
Yeah, it's not the most fun one. People do love it. I've seen Sunspire fills up really fast. I think another one, Rock Grove, is always a very popular opinion, especially because of how it works and there's a lot of stuff you can do in there. Some people don't mind doing any trial. I mean, I'd love to do either VAA or Citadel. I love those trials too. VMOL is always a fun trial. I keep loving VMOL, but not everyone dares to attempt it. So that's. There's a hurdle in that one, but definitely I think Rock Grove, if not Sunspire, then definitely Rock Grove is until the new trial comes out. I've seen some clips with both from you, Ollie. I think that's going to be a fun trial to do once we get a chance to actually do it.
Even on Veteran, we struggled with it. It was tough.
If you guys don't like VMall because of mechanics, you're not gonna like the new trial. Because we were not arguing. We were like debating and having like these. We had for hours and hours about the requirements that we're setting. Not requirements, but like recommended DPS. What buffs you should have in these ESOU raids that we'll be hosting in the very near future for like open Sunspire raids or like TikTok Tormentor procs, whatever, right? And we got to the new trial, and all of us were like, we don't know how to give this a minimum. You know how some people are like, oh, you need 100k for Rock Grove or something.
I heard that,
right?
Yes,
exactly. But we don't know. Even I, like, I've been there so many times, and it's like I don't know. Because it's so mechanics heavy, it's so mechanics heavy. It's not really about DPS. I mean, kind of can be in some parts, but most parts, it's like really mechanics heavy. Yeah, for sure.
I think that's for most. Yeah, if come back to the VMOL example, right? It's mechanics. It's more mechanics than it's DPS heavy. So there is a chance that I saw the new baselines as well, and there is a chance for hard modes it's always a little bit higher, but hopefully it's around 60, 65 maybe. But it depends on if. Of course, it has to go out of PTS first. You get it on PC, and then not much will change. Not much changes now anyway. But I'm very curious to see, as is I think Rich talked about it in the when we had the closed interviews, right? Is where he talked about is that he keeps getting amazed how people get through these trials, no matter how hard they make them. And I think now that we talk about like Dreadsail Reef, and I think if we talk about Dreadsail Reef in a couple of weeks or maybe even a month, then it'll probably be a lot different, because then by the time you kind of get used to the mechanics and kind of know exactly how, where, and what, it will get easier. And then you'll eventually see like the bigger things to come out. And I think it's nice that you kind of have a blank right now in terms of how much it's going to be. Because, if you already knew this before it actually goes out, it goes out of PTS and comes in live. Okay, it's nice to know, but it's also nice to just go in the trial, figure it out, see how it works. How does this work? How does that work? Can we do this different? Is there a buff that we don't get, or that we get by the fact that it takes longer? For instance, like the Asylum Sanctorum boss, which puts everyone in a major defile, so it just takes like 80 years to kill. it's yeah. Once you kind of know those things, and it makes it easier. And I think then the baseline will be clear, but it has to take time to see what exact that baseline is going to be, because it depends on both the community and how you figure out what the trial needs, right?
Well,
So it could be the trial needs something completely different.
I am aware that there's going to be a handful of more balance changes to the new trial, from what I've been told and know. But even with those balance changes, I don't think this new trial is gonna have a baseline for DPS or anything. Maybe like the basic amount, but like I don't know how to say. It's not like a stack and burn fight in some cases for sure. It's definitely really mechanic heavy, more so than it is DPS heavy. At least with that.
Oh, definitely.
But Hardmode is a combination of mechanics, and you need a high amount of DPS for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think even with the hard modes, you don't really need DPS. The first time we cleared the first boss hard mode.
I'm talking about from the perspective of like a potential speedrun. Like you can clear it.
Yeah,
like,
you can clear it.
Anyone can clear anything for in like 15, 20, 30 minute fight, but like from the perspective of that,
the speed run will always require DPS. But like, you know, if you're setting up like a pug run, then you really don't need any DPS. I mean, we killed the first boss hard mode with I think 10 players just because we didn't have anyone else. We were missing 2 DDs.
What did you call me?
It was fine. I think we did.
What?
Might have done.
No, you did.
I think we did the next week.
Okay.
No, but I think that's a good thing, right? If the trials are based off of Rock Grove, but based on because that's like their baseline in terms of creating trials now, which they are trying to go out from. I think it's amazing if we now get a trial like this and you don't exactly know, and maybe there is no baseline which need. That makes it so much more better to actually do it. Yeah, okay, it's heavy, mechanic heavy, but if that's a hurdle that people don't have to go over if they think, okay, yeah, well, in terms of damage it's good, but we just need to learn mechanics. That is perfect. Then let's give it a shot. But if you tell people you need a specific amount of DPS, right? That's when it starts to get interesting in terms of trials, but that's also when you get like the mechanic where people think, oh yeah, we can just burn it, right? And keep burning. And the more you burn, the less mechanics you need to play. So I think it's pretty cool that we get the chance to see it, to do it, and then just to experience and see, okay, maybe if we do a little bit like this, it may help it. And of course, like Turning Tide and Powerful Assault and stuff like that, and that's right, that makes a huge difference, right? It lowers the baseline by so much if that keeps going up. I mean, yeah, it makes a massive difference. So that's good for everyone else to come in.
Yeah, and I mean, it's great that we have, there's both ways to play. I mean, if you want to do high DPS, it means that you maybe don't need, like you say, don't need to do as many mechanics. But if you aren't the strongest DPS, as long as you know how to do the mechanics, you can still get through it.
Yeah.
And then if you're good at both, then that's how you can get the speed run and like all the difficult achievements.
Yeah, and it takes time. Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that it's in that direction. Then I wonder whether the mechanics of this new one are possibly a little bit too hard for most people. I mean, we'll see when it comes to live and like the general population gets to have a go with it as to how quickly people pick it up. So I mean, like you said, VMO, still people haven't really picked it up, especially DDs especially.
Yeah, if we keep it in, let's say that Dreadsail Reef will have like the same kind of mechanics, right? In terms of people need to learn it. Well, there's 2 ways that people do learn it, and that's how we do it too, right? I'll just run it a couple of times in normal, kind of pick out some mechanics, try to learn it ourselves and look for specific cues. What does the boss do? Does he raise his head to do this, or does he wipe his tail or whatever to do that? If you learn it that way, you can look out for specific cues. But the good thing about as raid leading then is you look out for that cue, and you can tell people. And what I try to do as well is I tell people to look for that cue. If he raises his head, you know he's doing this. And at some point, people kind of get used to it, and they look at and see it themselves instead of like people telling him what they need to do. And that makes it easier because then you can react a lot faster, right? Because if I tell you to really react to something, then it already is actually like 2 seconds before you react.
Yeah.
And while if they do it themselves, you can see it directly. And I think with the new trial, I've only seen pieces of it. I'm really looking forward to just going in, both on normal and on vet, and trying some stuff out and then see how far we can get. And just by trying and learning. The downside, I think, what we have on console is it takes 2 weeks longer. Mainly because every patch they push out needs to be verified on console before it can actually get released. So there is like a verification process. So let's say you guys get a patch and it works good. If they want to get that same patch out on PC, on Xbox, they need to send it to Microsoft. They need to validate the patch. It takes around 2 weeks, and then it goes live, and then they can actually patch it. So it takes 2 weeks for Microsoft, around 2 weeks, when a patch for, let's say we have a tank bug. PC brings it out. It's fixed on PC. About 2-3 weeks later, it'll be fixed on console because the verification of the patch takes that long. And that's on the one side, I think, okay, PC gets the expansion a bit earlier. And then you would think, okay, if there are some bugs, fix it on PC and then you bring it out on console. But the reality is that console will have the exact same build as the PC had 2 weeks when the release came out. So any bug fixes will come 2 weeks later because it has to be validated and released by Microsoft.
Right.
And that's they don't have control over how it gets pushed. While if they're on PC, right, they have their own client, they just push it out to their client and they're done. So there's always like a bit of delay on console, and I think that's with the new trial it'll be no different. People will from day one probably, aside from the fact that we'll have like hour one clears probably, not even day one clears, but hour one clears. We'll see eventually like guides and stuff coming up, and then people will start reading the guides, and then I think the guides are good, but they have to be like check it for yourself as well, and try to learn and see, okay, where's the queue? Why does this happen? Not exactly how, but when does this happen? Does he raise his head? Is that what he does? Does he turn gold? Is that when that mechanic happens? Where do you have to look for? And then you can actually with ice as well. If Sunspire ice, he raises his head, he spits ice out, and then you already know where ice is going to be because you can see it's either left, middle, or right where he actually is throwing the ice on. So the moment you say that, or right, you can tell ice, and if you see where he spits, you can even see where the ice is going to land even before it lands. If you have to do it after, it takes longer. So watching for those cues makes it a lot easier, I would say, in terms of both rate leading, but also trying to teach people where to look for. And eventually you'll see that picks up in trials and then makes trials a lot easier to do until they can just blindly do.
I mean, they do put the visual cues in on every single mechanic, but I think part of the reason why add-ons exist, especially raid add-ons, is because they're not that clear sometimes, especially if you've got like color blindness or something like that. What mechanics on console are the ones that people still can't get because either they're broken or they're just very hard to see?
Colors on VMO.
Colors on VMO, exactly.
That was. I mean, that's the first raid add-on I ever got. Was that
terrible? The colors in VMO is and will always be an issue. I mean, first we had like the floors. We had the floors that were a specific color, right? They removed that at some point where you don't see the colors of the floor, and that made it like 20 times harder now. And now it just, even if you need a color swap or if you need the half switch around, the half switch around you can see, right? You can see where the boss goes to. But the color swap, I mean, no, it has to be different color, and even then it's very, very hard to see. I mean, people miss it a lot. And I mean a lot. So what we usually do is we tell, okay, when we see it coming out, right, the ad stop, they put their hands up in the air like they don't care, and that's when colors come up. So what we do is when we see that mechanic, when I see the mechanic, I just tell people, take a step back, spread out. You can see if you're standing alone, you can see if you have the color. If so, run back and run to the outer wall, and otherwise come back into the group. And that makes it easier to do. But if you just stand together, and it's very hard to see that color. It's because it's dark blue, right? You don't see it. If there's some AoE on the floor, you completely miss it. It's just, that would be a definition of needs and add-ons.
I feel like they overshot with this new trial coming out, though.
Too much?
I like how you brought up the point earlier where Rich mentioned that they often like don't expect players to beat the content. Like really
Make it
fast.
harder,
I think they do have a history of underestimating players. I mean, look at things like Duration Stranglers, right? I think they do, I think, severely underestimate the player ability to, like, find out what's broken, find out how can I exploit this, or how can I make the best use of this to the most extreme degree possible. And I think maybe they're applying lessons from that to trial design. Because I feel like this new trial coming out is, it feels like they just slapped on a whole bunch of features and mechanics at the same time, and it's like, oh, okay, let's see what happens.
Start to overwhelm
you. And it's very visually overwhelming at times. It's sensory overload at times for sure, depending on the fight and depending on what's going on. And I thought to myself during the PTS, like, how are console players gonna, like, see all this shit? Because there's a lot going on.
To get used to it.
yeah. You know, I also maybe I felt this, like, sense that they maybe made this trial in mind, with add-ons in mind, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing.
That's not a good way to go.
No.
And well, we'll just have to see how, because we don't have PTS, right? Even if we would have PTS, then, I mean, if we would have PTS on console, it's like 100 and another 100 gigs on your console, and you only have like 500 to 1,000, so that's not going to work anyway. But yeah, if we look at how it's going to be, I'm not sure if that is right, because I haven't done the trial, so I don't know. But maybe is there a chance that it's like based off of how much percentage a boss has? Because in that case, then mechanics shouldn't overlap if we don't burn the boss fast enough, right? As things what we try to figure out a little bit to make it easier. Is it because we're standing too close together, or I think we'll just have to go and try it and then just figure it out as we go along. There must be a way. Yeah, if they do make it too hard on purpose, then we'll just improve and just make it easier for us. So, no, we'll find a way. Usually there's a way, unless it's really too hard. But if they based it off of add-ons in mind, yeah, then there's no way as a console player to go and beat it if you need add-ons for it. So hopefully that's not the case. And it just, we'll get through it, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both. It's that some of it's time-based and some of it is percentage-based. And then sometimes they line up together.
And then they overlap, well. Yeah, if that happens, there's not much you can do unless you won't want to. There is a way, right? And you want to stop DPS on the boss until that specific mechanic happens, and then you continue. Yeah, and then wait for the time mechanic to happen, and then we do that with VSS in mind as well, right? If we're at 85% and the boss flies up at 80%, what we do is we'll just when I see it 85% and it has been quite a bit time before ads went in, and we kill ads before we kill the boss. Then what we'll do is we'll say, okay, stop damage on the boss, wait for the ads to come in, kill the ads, and then go back to the boss, because otherwise you'll have ads, including new ads, while the boss flies up. And then, just too much. That's the only way, I guess, you can play the game. By doing it, you have to anticipate a little bit on how long it's going to take. And if you start to notice mechanics in terms of when something comes, same with the final boss in VSS as well. You don't want to push past a specific percentage if they're still, if everyone is still downstairs, because otherwise it's not going to work. So you have to ease it up there. And hopefully in the new trial that's the case too. But well, you guys know better. You have done it.
I mean, I think first boss pugs are going to struggle with a lot.
Oh my god, I don't know about pugging that one.
So much going on. There's
I don't think that's puggable.
No,
I don't think that's puggable. Period.
You need people to sort of very quick reaction times, and also being able to tell colors very quickly. And
it's not puggable.
You guys really give me hope here.
No, okay, so I think it's doable with people in comms and stuff like that. But if you're like pugging from wherever, and you're not getting to like voice comms or anything, and I don't think console really has this issue, because you guys have in-game chat. On PC, we don't have in-game chat, which is really annoying to me at times. And I don't even with voice comms, I think it's like really unpuggable. It's very pug. Anti-pug.
Yeah,
it's not pug friendly at all.
Is gonna work, really,
Boss 2 also very not pug friendly. Boss 3 not very pug friendly at all. I don't know. This new trial is probably gonna be the hardest trial ever.
Yeah.
Like I think it's at least
It's good as an
3
example.
times harder than Rockroof, at least. I'd say so.
Now, I think it's good for a challenge, but yeah, if it needs to be downscaled, look at VHOF, right? VHOF has been downscaled like multiple times until it's now a lot easier to do than it was. I mean, yeah, there is a chance that might happen there too, but the only community, the time will tell, right? Time will tell how the community goes wrong with it, and if PC players, if you guys can complete it, and console struggles, then there is a big chance, right? Where, there's a big chance it will get easier.
Yeah, they'll probably nerf it. I think they have to.
Okay, you already know that. Yeah.
Well, at a certain point, they are going to make balance adjustments for live for sure. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah,
even the incoming damage though, it is mostly the overlapping of mechanics that's the tricky bit.
Yeah, once you kind of get used to it, if you can base them one at the other, but if one is time based, then you like Heavens as well, right? Or if one is time based and the other one is percentage based, you don't want to try and push both at the same time. So yeah, either you have to pace yourself or you have to push damage, and I'd rather pace than push damage, because if you want to get it clear, it's easier to just take your time than do the other thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe those time-based ones, I think, at least on the third boss hard mode, is the time is not long enough. Like you get an ad every 30 seconds or something.
Oh,
it's got like 10 million health.
They changed that.
I've heard, they changed that. But like that's the kind of thing that happens far too often.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Oh, one thing I was curious about is, so before I tried out ESOU on console, on PlayStation 5 and Xbox, whatever X, before I went to console, I kind of like asked some console friends, what I mean, like, hey, what's console like? I got a lot of varying different accounts, but there's a consistent theme in like perception of population, right? So some people, a lot of people actually told me, hey, if you're in console, play on PlayStation EU, not PlayStation NA, because PlayStation NA is dying or whatever. And if you go to Xbox, don't play on Xbox EU, because Xbox EU has like a lot less players than Xbox NA. Is that true, or is that like a perception
I've heard
thing?
that multiple times. People keep saying it, and yes, I would say NA is bigger. Well, in terms of, if you look at the map, you'll see that NA is actually bigger than EU anyway. But yeah, there's a lot more people on NA than there is on EU, but the type of players that are on NA and EU is also very different between the two, right? So, but yeah, I see a lot of people, we have some people in our group that play on NA and on EU, and they prefer EU in most cases because of the community and the way people interact with each other. And I see some people that go to NA and then actually get really just send like screenshots of like weird conversations and things that just really are not supposed to be there and that get sent there. So I think it depends on where your friends are at, and also where you build your community at, right? Because if you have for PC as well, for PC it will be the same, right? You have EU and NA, and where would you guys think? Would you say NA is better than EU? Because I mean, all you play on EU, and Nefis you play on both.
In terms of
NA,
what?
I guess.
In terms of
Yeah.
what?
In terms of how many people you would have there.
Well, I don't think it's a matter of okay, so PC EU has at least triple the population of PCNA for sure, after like going there many times. They have a lot more, I think, raiders. They have a lot more players in general. They have a lot more trading guilds. But I think, so right now, as is, like, the current situation to my eyes is ECEU in terms of like score pushing. They're dominant. They're very dominant right now, and that often swings from patch to patch depending on the time of year or whatever is going on. At the same time, though, from what some PCU raid leads tell me, like, the diversity on PCU is, and other factors can be barriers to forming like a tight-knit community of raiders outside of the usual endgame sphere, where people already know each other. Whereas on PCNA, yeah, right now it's not very, I don't think there's any score pushers right now on PCNA at all.
Really?
Yeah, no, there's just a team
That's
score
bad.
pushing. Yeah. And
Decided they already lost. They thought, just leave an leave
no,
EU there.
this happens from time to because I've been reading for like 6 years basically. I've seen this happen. Like EU is dominant a few patches, then NA is dominant for a few patches, and then so on. I don't. But right now, I think PCN has an advantage in the fact that because it has a smaller population, people tend to know each other more, or they know who they are, and so it is a much more, I think, tight-knit social community, at least in terms of rating, for sure. So that's, I think, the basic situation in my eyes.
Yeah, I think that's the same situation. I would say for console as well, at least for Xbox, is that you can see some people have their communities in NA, and I've heard multiple times of people in NA that really say that they really prefer EU over it. But when they do like maybe PvP, they would rather do PvP on NA instead of EU. So this kind of like depends on the community that you have out there, and as someone who mainly plays, or actually 99% of the time plays on EU, I can see that there's just a lot of people on EU, but it also really depends on how ESO is doing at the moment, right? Especially now, in terms of how ESO is doing. We'll see in a couple of weeks when the patch hits, and then you'll see a big increase, and then hopefully that'll last us for the end of the year, and then we'll see the drop that we usually get at the end of the year. But hopefully, the drop will be less and less as more people enjoy it, because I mean the game is amazing. It's getting bigger and bigger. If you now start, and we still have players that come in every day, right? That start new. I mean, just imagine starting ESO now for the first time. There is so much to go through. That's
right.
We'll see you in a couple of years.
Yeah.
I also think the recent Microsoft acquisition of Bethesda and ZeniMax Media is probably going to help. And I think more of I think Xbox Series X is a lot more available than PlayStation 5 even after a year. So
they tried it.
So I think we'll probably see a surge in population, at least in terms of Xbox, probably in the near future. Yeah.
I think with the acquisition, of course, from Microsoft buying up more and more. Microsoft already has their monopoly anyway, right? And not specifically in gaming basis, but in terms of like PCs. Most companies do run on Microsoft Windows anyway. And in terms of that's what gives them, they had Xbox, and people laughed at Xbox One when they actually put in a DIMM3 chipset instead of a 4. And then Xbox came out with, well, we did this because we can use backwards compatibility for our original games. And then PlayStation had, fuck. And they decided, crap, no. Yeah, and they keep building on that, right? They get backwards compatibility, and now Project X Cloud, which is now Xbox Play. You log in to the website, or you log into the application, and you can just, if you have a subscription, you can just play from the cloud. You can play your Xbox games from cloud. You don't even need an Xbox to actually play Xbox games anymore. You can just play it either from the cloud or play from that way. And that just gives them, it keeps on growing. And the fact that then iOS, for instance, Apple decided, no, we don't want you to do the games in this way. Then they decide just, okay, you know what? We'll just bring out the web version, and then you can play through the web. So we can they figure out a way anyway. And I think, Xbox is definitely winning in the, there is no winning in the race, right? People who play on PlayStation really love PlayStation. It depends on what you prefer as a console, I guess. I had a PlayStation, and then I went to Xbox, and then Xbox 360, and then I stick with Xbox all the way. And I have a Series X. I'm lucky enough to have one very close to release, I think in the same week even. It's amazing, and it's the power that comes out of the thing. It's just insane. If I go to VAA, I am the first one that, and when we stand on the pads, I'll always go right. I am the first one to load in. I'll taunt those ads before the rest even loads in, so there's no death there.
Oh my god! Did I ever tell you guys this?
It happens.
Okay, so before I got the Xbox Series X, I was just gonna try out, Xbox, because I was planning to go to console and do this project a while back, right? and I bought a Series S. Right, it's not as powerful as the X, but it's a little bit more powerful than the previous generation, right? So I went to VAA, and I stood on the right pads after the storm metro, and I was stuck on this loading screen. I was like, "Wow, man, this loading screen is kind of long." And I come out, I'm dead because the overcharger killed me. I was like, "What is this?" And then I asked people, because they're on the previous generation of Xbox. I'm like, "How do you guys deal with this? Like, what's the strategy here? Like, if you're score pushing or something?" And they were like, "Okay, so we just save a barrier."
Yeah, put a barrier before they go in.
And I was like, I hit up Finn, Council Raider. They're like, "What, yo, this is you know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? I'm just like, I was really surprised by that. I'm like, man.
Yeah, the fact that happens, and it happens, I really noticed it as soon as I got the axe, right? We were doing VAA, and I was literally first one in, and usually someone dies before as a tank, you load in. Yeah, usually someone is already dead, or just already got overcharged, or got something, they're standing in something, because that's the character loads in first, and then they get their loading screen after. But yeah, ever since the new Xbox, it's just, I'm always on the right side as a tank. I won't go on the right side as a DD, I just don't, because otherwise I'm the first one that's dead. It's something you have to deal with, if loading times are, and there are people on the original Xbox One, there are people on the Series S, right, and there are people on the X, and you really need to, that's the downside, I guess, from having those consoles, that load times really matter, especially if you're going to go for score pushing.
Yeah.
What?
What?
How does that get through? How do they? Do they not test these things?
Okay,
but there's nothing you can do, right?
It's a hardware issue.
Yeah, it's a loading issue. I mean, if your PC is more powerful than my PC, and you load into VAA, you'll have the same issue. You load in faster, and I have to I'm sitting in a loading screen, and I'm already dead by the time you get in.
Yep.
Because the only way to circumvent this is by making a queue in a loading screen, waiting for everyone to be loaded in at the same time, and then put the characters in. But yeah, I think that would have to change the whole game in terms of how people load in, or you would have to freeze the game for 10 seconds and then have everyone load in and then start the game again. It's hardware. There's not much you can do about it, and so that is a big thing, and usually it's happy if the tanks have that. But it only happens to 1 or 2 trials, right? It only usually happens to VAA, and well, unless you come out of a portal for something and you have to move, but usually you don't get a loading screen in a portal, so normally you don't. So it would,
Cloud Rest or something. Do you just get hit by Zamadra as soon as you load in?
No, because you don't get a loading screen, right? You go through the portal, you don't get a loading screen. So the only time you would actually get a loading screen, I think VAA might be the only one. You get a loading screen when you... Because that's the only one that goes through portals that actually loads you into a different area.
Right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't happen too often. Yeah. In combat, exactly, yeah. But then again, right, at second portal, it is not an issue because the ads are further away. But who puts ad right next to the spawn point for DD? If you move them up a little bit, then the issue is also resolved. But you spawn right on the ad. So
they could move it back a little.
Move the ads a bit. There is space there. They could move the ads and then push the spawn point back a little bit, just like they do in the final boss.
Just so make the aggro range a bit less or something.
Yeah. I think that's the only way to circumvent that, but it's the only situation where it actually happens, I would say.
Right. Yeah.
As far as I know.
Wasn't VHOF broken for console for a year or something, and you couldn't even get past one of the bosses?
There were some issues with it, but I'm not sure if it was broken. Could be, yeah.
I mean, console has it even worse than PC EU, it sounds like.
Well, we managed, but
you're fine, bro. You're fine.
No, we're not.
We are used to having some issues here or there, right? It happens, and especially now close. We talked about it in our. I talked with our guild members as well. Is that we're doing VHOF, right? We're progressing in VHOF, and every time we get close to a patch, the game kind of starts to break down here or there. I mean, there is someone who's doing the trifecta for Rockgrove, and half the group gets wiped because the Stonebreaker is doing an AoE attack while he's actually doing a swipe attack. He's doing a different. The AoE, it looks like he's doing a different attack than he's actually doing, and he isn't even facing the group, and half the group dies. We have multiple videos out of it, and no one can see what's happening. It's just, yeah, that kind of breaks the game, and it always happens in VOF as well. VOF especially, where you not only range taunt, because range taunt is usually also a bit wonky sometimes. Where you pull your ads away from the middle, especially in the second boss fight, and then he just runs away, runs straight towards the group, even if you have taunt on him. And it's weird bugs like that do happen, but they usually happen because there's either something with the server going on, or because something hasn't loaded in. And sometimes what we do is we just travel back into VOF and just do it again.
Right. What's the state of Cyrodiil? I mean, I guess you don't PvP too much, but is it still laggy?
A lot, no. Personally, I haven't seen any lag, but it's playing on the Series X. I don't experience lag in Cyrodiil, which is kind of weird. But ever since I remember when I had some lag or some issues, especially frame rate issues in, that's more like my hardware issues as well. And when I had the Xbox, and I had Xbox One, I had the Xbox Series, and I had Xbox One X, which was already a big improvement. I skipped the S because I went straight for the X because they released at the same time. And you could definitely see a massive increase. If I now go to Cyrodiil, I can just literally stand there with everyone and just, throw meat sacks at the doors, and I don't have any issues.
And this might sound controversial, but I think they should drop I think they should just drop support for the previous generation of console.
I thought about it as well, right? But there's
I know not enough people have the
compatibility,
consoles and stuff like that, but at the same time, it's like they can do a lot more once they drop support for the previous generations, because right now they're being limited by the hardware of the previous generation. They can't add a new class, they can't add new skills or effects or anything really beyond the current limited scope of, well, not limited, but like the current scope of what they can do. Right?
They can do a lot, right? Remember when a while back, a couple of years ago, they changed how AoEs worked on console. If you put an AoE on the floor on PC, you see all particles effects and everything, and then they changed it so on console you would see less particle effects. So you don't see you still see the AoEs, but you only see like less AoE, I would say. And to make it easier in terms of performance, and they changed that over the course of the time. But yeah, if you go to the original Xbox One and go play ESOU, then load times are terrible. There is a lot of black textures and stuff that needs to be loading in, missing textures and everything that needs to be loaded in. And that is something that if you would go and you would say you would only use the Series S and X and then use their hardware to improve the graphics and maybe even add more ray tracing they already put in the Series X, and then maybe push that up even more. They did improve the graphics, but they did that in a way that the old generation doesn't have that patch, right? There's a patch for the Xbox, and it's a different version. The original for Xbox has different texture packs, or different less texture packs than the Series X version has. There's a different update. I think the original has like 60 gigs and the Xbox Series X has 80 or 90 gigs in terms of how big the game is, just because the game changes their textures based on which platform you're on. So they already do that a little bit, because I think if I would go back to the original Xbox and then use my current patch with graphics, which you can't, right, because it automatically downscales it back, then the game wouldn't run anymore. So they kind of do have different versions of the game running. It's like low texture mode and high texture mode, sort of, or medium texture mode to high texture mode, or without like reflections and things.
Are there graphic settings on consoles?
No.
Okay.
Well, there is on the Series X, and I think on the S maybe as well, where you can change between fidelity and performance.
Right, yeah.
I can change the performance where it's like performance will be always 60 FPS, and fidelity would be 30 FPS capped, but 4K and stuff like that. I mean, you can play in both ways. And, well, as a streamer, I usually play at 30 FPS because 60 FPS is, I don't stream at 60 FPS because it takes like twice as much power on your PC to even do it, and a lot of people just can't. The bandwidth doesn't even allow it. Twitch doesn't allow it, not correctly at least. So 30 FPS is perfect, and then it looks fine and it looks good. And even on 30 FPS with the cap and everything in, if I go to Cyrodiil or wherever I go, the game looks amazing. I do make a lot of screenshots. I do edit them a little bit, but yeah, all the screenshots I have are from that same console, and it looks amazing. It keeps looking amazing. I think the game, for the fact that it's that old, in terms of the game is pretty old in terms of other games. It looks amazing, and the fact that there's still so much support just is a testament to both the community that keeps supporting it and the developers as well. Even if you don't like a card game, I mean, it's still pretty fun. I for one am one that really likes card games. I mean, in The Witcher, I played a lot of Gwent and stuff, and I do play some card games outside of with my brother as well. And I have played a lot of card games in the future. I even did some tournaments with like Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff. It's a long time ago.
Nice.
But yeah, I love card games like that. And it's not for everyone. And then you just have the story and expansion. And I do hear mixed reviews about that as well. People don't like it because they don't like the card game, and then they kind of don't like the whole expansion. The card game is a big part of it, but it's, there is still a lot of story. There is a new dungeon, or there's a new trial. There's a lot of stuff in the new expansion. I mean, there's enough for everyone to do for a long time to come, I would say.
Yeah.
I was talking to my Dawnbringer prod yesterday about the card game because it was brought up because we're just joking around and stuff. But I was like, man, like, you guys should try the card game, honestly. So it was like, you gotta fuck out of here, you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, well, I told him, like, I thought I wouldn't like it, but like once you start playing it and you understand it, it's like, it's actually, not bad. You can actually get lost in it a little bit. I did. I played for 2 hours straight. I was like, oh shit.
As well, I tried it the first time right after we had the closed press release. I tried it. There was a lot of the stuff missing at the time, right? And I already tried it, and I wasn't 100% even with the tutorial. Wasn't 100% sure how does the game work. Even with the explanations we had of that, how does this work, and why does this happen? And then you kind of go through it a couple of times, and then now, especially when you play it on PTS now, and when we're going to get a release, I mean. I'll probably have to. Sometimes you just have to. Someone has to tell you a little bit how it works, because it's not always very explanatory. Because unless you have to add a lot of text extra. Because I think if you do the tutorial now, you still miss a couple of things, like the fact that you can block with power, and you can block the power from the other person, even if you have a taunt, or even without the taunt, and you just kill the enemy that the other guy has. But the game is. I thought it was. It is very in depth in terms of once you start playing it, indeed, and then I think I think I still need to level up some cards in PTS, but I'll just do that when live comes out. It's fun, and then when you run into or do a ranked or unranked match to someone else, and then you play with them, and then they have different sets, and then you see the awesome upgraded cards, and it's like, and yeah, it's awesome. And sometimes a game can take like for ages, right? I think I saw one of the other stream. I can't remember who was streaming it, and they had like 40 each. And then the other one had the power creep to 45, and then the other is 46, and then 48, and then 50 in precision, and then 60, 65, 70, 75. I'm thinking, oh, once someone hits 80, it's done, And it's very awesome. You can get that far, and the fact that they have a unique way of, even if someone else has more experience in terms of the game, they put all of those 4 decks together, and that's where you play from. So it's equal playground for each and every one, and I think that's just amazing how you can get a baseline, get both a new player and an advanced player, and just pit them together, and they still get a fair chance, which is cool. Other than combos, though, combos were really awesome. I highly suggest anyone that does watch it and just go play it, focus on those combos, because they're just, if you get like a lot of things at the same color, and you can even reactivate cards that you already put on that are in your defense line, for instance. Combos are amazing, and sometimes just like 3 or 4, maybe even like 2, 3 or 4 combos, you get like 20 prestige in one turn, and think, ha! Just turn everything around like it's nothing. It's fun. It's truly fun, and I'm looking forward to challenging a lot of people in terms of, I'm gonna sink a lot of time in a card game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is it going to have appeal to like endgame raiders as well as casual players? I feel like it seems like it's complicated enough that it's got something for people that want to try hard.
In terms of rewards, I would say yes. There is some nice rewards you get, even transmutes as well, but also materials and more style pages and and recipes and stuff. You get a lot of stuff from it, but in terms of endgame trial, yeah, only maybe I would say maybe just for transmutes then, because for the rest is not a lot of incentive in terms of if you're looking for endgame, because if you're trial rating.
How many transmutes do you get? Because I haven't been able to get transmutes on PT.
I think you get a node, a purple node or a blue node, but it depends on I think if you win or lose.
Okay.
It's like 5 or 10, I think.
Yeah.
Blue's 5.
Oh, but
10.
And sometimes you get even less, but I'm not sure if they changed that or not, because I haven't played in the last iteration of the PTS yet.
I think they should give 100 transmutes or something.
100?
Yeah, or 200. Here's the thing, because so they said once people understand what the game is about, they estimate the average length of a game is anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes. That's what they said. Okay, 15, 20 minutes. You can get 2 or 3 random normals depending on if you have a low level character or not. You know what I mean? Like in the group.
It depends,
That's
right?
like
that
30 transmutes. You know what I mean?
Well, if you're a DPS and you're queuing for random, then you won't get 2 or 3 randoms in 20 minutes. You would be glad if you get 1, because the queue as a DPS is.
Well, that's what you fake thing.
It's at least half an hour to an hour probably.
Yeah.
So.
Whatever, it's just normal. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, but on the other hand, that's a good thing. I think you can queue for. Oh no, you don't. You can't do that anymore. I think you did the first PTS. You could queue for a dungeon and also queue for a game, and then whichever pops first goes first.
Okay.
But I don't think you can do it. You can't do that anymore. But yeah, it's I'm one of those people that I use my transmutes either to transmute something into Nirnhorn and then deconstruct it. So I get some materials, or I make a completely set of stuff and then I either use it or don't use it, but I'm saving it so I have something to deconstruct to get more transmutes back if I ever need them. But I think the cap of 1,000 for me is a little bit on the low side because I don't really use it. I'm one of the few people that still that maybe has too many. I don't know what to do.
I've definitely got too many. Yeah,
I need more.
I would love something to use it for. Yeah.
I need
something
more.
new to use it for. Yeah, you need more.
Yeah, well, because I've been DPSing and healing recently, and I don't have everything for healing. You know what I mean? And I'm switching from DPS to healer again now, and then again basically.
Yeah.
And then,
this is because you don't do Zerodead though, FS. As soon as you do even a little bit of PvP, then you
tier 1 gets just 50 transmutes on a 30-day basis. Yeah, that used to be a lot, 50 transmutes. It's still a lot depending on how many transmutes you have, but if you how many characters do you have, Nafis? Do like
18.
Zerodead on each of them? Let's still
hell no! I wouldn't
5,000.
I wouldn't do Zerodead on 18 characters. I don't know.
Is it like
only takes
5,000 transmutes each one?
I don't know, man.
15 minutes on each character.
I haven't gotten Zerodead in a while, mainly because, well, 2 reasons. Actually, the biggest reason is performance, right? But then they fixed it. Yeah. But when they fixed it, all the shitheads came back. And I'm just like, do I want to, like, I don't know which is worse, the lag?
Campaign.
I don't know which is worse, the toxic people or like the lag. So I'd rather just not fucking touch it. I'd rather just do random normals. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously a lot of cool people came back too, but that's what that's what you get, a mixed bag, right?
I think it's cool. I like PvP. I used to do some PvP here or there, and I do like it. But the only time when I like PvP is if like a lot of people in there and I can group with them. Because otherwise, and they changed that as well, right? From 24 to 12 people in a group, so the groups are a lot smaller as well. But when it's a Zerg, it's fun. If you're on the other side of the Zerg and you're running like 15-20 minutes to get to the next keep, and then get whacked just before the door before you can get in, then you just start over.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got my sky shards from the other. I got the sky shards all in there too.
Yeah, I did that
not
early.
Going back.
I was like, that was back in 2015 or something. Oh my god. But yeah, I don't think I even have time for Cyrodiil anymore, honestly. I barely have time for myself now that this whole thing is going on. Yesterday...
You're just teaching raid leaders now.
Basically, kind of. I mean, I woke up yesterday. I didn't even have time to eat since the 2 days ago. So yesterday I was streaming for 11 hours straight while handling all the stuff on the Discord administration side.
Oh,
Maybe you
And
should
I
wake
didn't
up 10 minutes earlier so you can eat
Then
something.
after streaming at about 2 a.m., after another hour after I was handling more stuff, right? I ate. Then I woke up for this podcast, like about 7 hours sleep, and then I was like, okay, here I am. I didn't eat yet.
You do need to eat, Nefis.
Oh yeah, I'll be
It's
fine.
part of life.
But like, yeah, I don't think I have time. I don't have time now. Once this, like, we have we have a lot of Xbox EU guilds, which is really
yeah,
cool.
that's true.
We got 5
I saw,
now.
yeah, we have a lot of,
Oh, yeah, 5. But
you need to get some like smoothies. You can eat while you or drink, while you keep going.
But there will be more, and then there will be more work, and then I have less time.
You can only do so much in a day, right? You can only do so much.
I wish I had
in
more
a day.
hours because
Pace yourself a bit. Yeah.
I was supposed to make videos this week. I couldn't make a single video, so that it just threw me off completely, and so I have to like, I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna manage. I managed, dude. I think I'm gonna have to sacrifice
Do you do like time management?
Time management? I have time.
He's got a calendar.
I'm booked.
I've seen his calendar.
Yeah.
I'm booked because like I have 3 core raids a week. That's 12 hours of raiding, and that's on PTS or for the new trial trifecta. I also manage, besides ESOU, which has almost 18,000 people, and now more raiders, right? This new raiding system. I also manage a 2,000 member server Discord for a social guild on PCNA.
Yeah.
And I have videos to do, I have streaming to do, and I have a whole bunch of stuff to do on the side too. And I don't know where I'm gonna find the time, so I'm gonna have to like throw away one of these things. I think I don't know, because
it's hard. And I'm a full-time IT admin, right, during the day. I'm a musician in the evening, 2 times a week. I conduct one evening in the week. And I do like a lot of arranging as well, and then I have usually the usual stuff to take care of with house and everything, and then I still stream like 3 or 4 evenings a week. Time management is like, I know exactly what you mean. It's like if something comes up in between, then I'll just sleep less. That's the only way I can catch up with what I'm doing.
Exactly.
That's the only way you can catch up.
The day after I announced this project, I stayed up for 17 hours. Because that's how many, that's how much work I had to do, or like how many PMs I had to handle, how many people I had to talk to. You know what I mean? It's I don't know.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
You don't do it alone, do you?
Do what alone?
The whole all the manage. Do you do everything by yourself?
I'm doing everything by myself. Well, not everything, but like a
There's
lot
like
of things by
moderators
myself right
and
now.
stuff.
Well, I have I need more moderators. I need 20 more moderators, but right now I'm adding all the channels myself.
Yeah. You need some help there.
Yeah. I'm also.
I think the bigger you get, the more help you'll probably need in that.
Probably, because I'm also working on the ESOU website too. Because every patch I have to manually update the set tooltips and skill tooltips. I'll have to do it here pretty soon again. So it's a lot of work, right? And I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to find a drug dealer or something for like methamphetamine.
That's one way. One way of dealing with it.
I think so. I think that's gonna be the play here. Okay.
Now, I think for us, we have a small time community, right? But we recently, yesterday or the day before, we instated some moderators to check out chat. Usually we did that with the 3 of us, but with the fact that we're growing, we kind of try and prepare ourselves for stuff to come, especially with the fact that we also have a channel on ESOU now, is to make sure we have enough people to manage everything that comes in. So we have 3 people actually leading the guild with the 3 of us. And then we have, I think, 4 raid leaders in total, aside from the leaders that also lead. And then from those 4, we also have a couple of moderators. So if something does happen, we have it in a specific way set up so we can do it. And just to kind of prepare for stuff that comes. Because, if you have to do everything by yourself, that's a lot of work. It's kudos. Especially with so many, right? 17, 18,000 on ESOU now, and you have your 2,000 other. That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Yeah.
How many hours do you sleep?
On average, I sleep maybe
4, 5?
4 to 6, maybe. At the
not too
moment,
bad.
yeah, it's not too bad. I could probably cut down on
It's
that
not
a
too
bit
bad.
more. Maybe 2 hours sleep is probably better.
Yeah, I did.
We'll see. 2 hours
I did that last year when I started streaming. I had to stream. I had a well, in my last relationship, which recently just ended, I had to limit my time when the other person was asleep.
Right.
So I started at like 9 or 10 p.m. in the evening. And then I went to like 1 a.m. in the morning, and then I went to bed at 1:30 because after you rage, you have to talk a bit, and then you have to
Right.
I close everything down, and then you go to bed, and then I got up at like 6, and then went to the gym, and then sometimes it even went to 2 a.m., and then still get up at 6, and then go to the gym, and then eventually I sleep like 4.5 hours, and then it was okay for the first half year, and then it just kind of, then it hits you, you know? So yeah, like 4 to 6 hours is pretty decent eventually, yeah. That's not bad, actually.
I think I'm pretty sure I sleep at least 10 hours each day. More like 12 or 14.
Wow.
I don't know.
That's a lot of hours. You know, that's half your day, right?
Yeah.
Damn, that's a lot.
I think don't people who like sleep over 10 hours, don't they like die sooner or something?
What?
I don't know whether that's...
What are you talking about?
I have no idea.
What? What is the
it's-
study? Give me the study. Give me the journal.
He lies Olibu. He slept 14 hours a day. I don't know.
I thought people who slept longer lived longer, right?
Or maybe they just count like
Could be.
you're not alive unless you're awake. Maybe they, you know.
I mean, but
something like that.
you could potentially live longer if you sleep longer, because your body is more into recovery and hibernation in that time, if it makes any sense. Then the more you sleep, the longer you live. But it also depends, I guess, how you treat the rest of your body, I guess.
No.
We'll do an experiment.
I mean, I think
see.
it's genetics as well, right? Like, there's that old, like, really old French woman, right, who was drinking wine and smoking and eating chocolate every day, and she's like she was like 120 something or something. There's something close to that.
So it is possible. There's debatable there, yeah.
Yeah.
You can. I think as long as you live the life you want, or at least you're happy with how you live, and you don't have too much stress, I think it'll be good.
Well, my neighbour who lives opposite me passed away recently. She was 107.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
That in this day and age, wow.
Impressive. That's like
she was still pretty fit. Like she would come out and start like cleaning her driveway. Like she'd be on her hands and knees, like scrubbing the bricks.
At 107,
smacking
yeah.
stuff.
107.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
So
Yeah.
What's the secret?
what happened? Seemed like she was well. Was she like,
Keep
you know
your
what?
driveway
I'm done
clean.
cleaning
Do plenty of
driveway.
gardening.
Okay.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, 107. That's insane.
That's impressive. That's very impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. How long would you want to live for?
28, 29.
What? How old are you now?
A couple of years left in me.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
I think that's a debatable question as well. By the way, if how long you want to live, I think depends on how the world goes. Right?
Wasn't it the 27 club or the 28 club or something? What's
You mean the
one?
27 Club?
No, that's
That's for
isn't it Amy Winehouse?
Yeah.
was,
Yeah, that's for
right?
celebrities.
Cobain,
Something like
Or like for famous
Is it
people.
27?
Yeah. Something, I'm not sure. 28?
27. 27.
Yeah, okay, if it's 27, I've only got a couple of months left then.
You better hurry up. Oh, God.
I need to go and start rocking and rolling and taking all the cocaines.
I can't
Well, the
imagine
rock and
how
rolling
good.
you have, right?
Oh dear.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about anything else in regards to like Xbox or ES or anything?
I think we covered quite a bit
Oh, we covered quite a
already in
lot.
that case, right?
Yeah.
I want to know more about your music career. You say you do music twice a week. What is that? Is that
Yes. So
band,
I started IT before I went to do something else. I studied IT first, then I went to conservatory, where I actually studied classical clarinet. So clarinet is my main instrument, and then piano kind of came with it a little bit. So, and I finished my bachelor degree in that. My master's at the time wasn't. It's very hard to make ends meet out of music and I think that counts for a lot of careers nowadays, is that if it's not like a default kind of job, it's very hard, especially in music, to make ends meet. And I see that with a lot of people, from people who I studied with, and one of my uncles as well. It's very hard. It's even not even possible anymore. I mean, YouTube teaches a lot of people, and a lot of people don't want private lessons or anything in that case. So it's very hard to do. But yeah, I did classical clarinet, piano,
same.
and I started to do a bit of guitar playing as well, but it's only like once every so often. So I do want to like pick it up a little bit more, especially now that I have a bit more time to spread it out, because clarinet is still awesome, and I do it twice a week. I help out in when there's a concert here or there, so you need like 2 or 3 rehearsals extra, and then I do conducting for a youth orchestra or youth band, and arrange music for them as well. So I do a lot of things with music itself, and I really love doing it, and it comes back, reflects into the streaming bit as well, is I love to teach, and I love to teach music as well, and I love doing it, and it gives just, I think I should have been a teacher. Well, technically I am a teacher, but maybe I should have been a teacher instead, but yeah. It's fun.
Okay.
It's
you and Nefesh can have a clarinet duel.
Yeah. Ooh, we can do the
I was
the
first.
devil went down to Georgia duel. Yeah. Exactly.
No, I haven't played that in so long. It's been maybe like 7 years since I've touched my
You
clarinet.
can probably still do it.
Yeah, probably.
It still stays in the fingers, right? The only thing that changes, the amateur, is the one that's the one thing that kind of goes south way really fast. But in terms of like the finger placement and stuff, that goes really well.
Can I tell you guys a secret? What?
No.
Okay. Hold up. Like,
Go
I'm
for
gonna
it.
tell you a secret. Okay, so this is gonna sound really weird, because I've played clarinet, sax, oboe. And I've also tried out piano and guitar, right? But I couldn't do piano and guitar. I just can't, for some reason. Or like even string instruments. So this is gonna sound really weird. Why are you listening so closely?
You said it's secret.
Okay. So when I am reading the sheets, I don't know what the notes are. Like the.
Wait, but you do know which
Like I know where to put my fingers.
You know which note it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what
the notes.
I don't know how to describe it. Like I don't know what they.
You play by ear. Well, why do you have
No,
the notes
not
at all
play
then?
by ear. It's like I know what the notes represent, but I don't know what they are. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
if you see a note on paper, you know which finger placement you need for the
but
instrument,
not
for the note,
the-
but you don't know what the name of the note is, right?
Right.
That's kind of the...
Yeah,
so they
it's
teach you,
kinda
okay,
weird.
this black note on this space here is going to be this note on
Yeah,
your
yeah.
instrument.
And
work from there.
if it's this
Then you
line
kinda know
here,
how that
then
works.
it's
Yeah.
longer. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
but I didn't really know.
You're not the
And-
only one, right? There's musicians out there that don't even read music, right? They do everything by ear, and there's people that do read music, and there's people that don't read music but can still like read or see the notes that you're using at the moment. It's it's very easy to. Well, easy. It's not easy. It's never easy to learn which notes there are, but it's more of there's a basic when you learn instruments.
Mm-hmm.
You should first learn the basic music notations
Oh, I did.
and then learn an instrument. If you start learning an instrument, you get kind of like the fact you know that this note is that. You know exactly how long it takes, but you have no idea how to note what the name of the note is, right?
Yeah,
and the same on guitar. You can say, okay, these are the frets I'm playing, but I have no idea which note it is. And it's kind of like the music theory, music basics that a lot of people forget that that's very important, and it brings you to any instrument you want to play and anything you learn later on. Is that if you have that basic, it helps you. Doesn't mean you can't do it without, right? Like I said, you can learn an instrument without knowing the music, but it helps you if you ever want to transition further into the music, because eventually people, if the conductor tells you, okay, and that needs to be a G or G sharp,
I would be
do
like,
you
what's
then
that
know
mean?
which note?
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know unless you put it on the paper. I'm like, okay, that's what he wants. You know what I mean? I wouldn't know if you told me.
That's what that note.
Yeah. If you told me play G, I'd be like just staring at you. What are you talking about? Like, can you just put on the note or like the sheet?
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, I can play that. I can play whatever, right?
Yeah,
But,
that's
like,
part of
I don't know.
the basics as well. Yeah, and now, and that's what, and like if someone wants to learn guitar, right? The good thing about learning a guitar, right, is people just put a YouTube on or they take a guitar and just like drums, you hit it once, there's sound coming out of it. There you go, you're done.
Right.
Basics. But if you want to have a different kind of music and you want to actually learn it, you have to learn the notes. You have to learn which note goes where, and it's hard if people want to just play now, right? People want to play their instrument right now, and learn. They don't want to learn the basics. They just want to just play music. Everyone wants to play like Stairway to Heaven on guitar or stuff like that, without. Or what's the forbidden song that no one is allowed to play in guitar shops anymore?
It's, was it? I think it's Stairway to Heaven.
Was it Stairway to Heaven? I mean, it's not forbidden.
Yeah, that's the one that's forbidden in every shop.
Smoke in the Water as well. It's terrible. Yeah,
because people want to play that. People really want to play the instruments, and the luck I have is that I have the basics. So, and the fact that then starting learning guitar is easier, and otherwise it's like I started reading tab. And I know how you feel in that one, Nefis, because I know how to read tab for guitar. But if I see the notes, I know what the name of the note is, but I have no idea what fret it is on the guitar because I don't translate my my notes over to my guitar. Because I learned frets instead of notes for guitar, and that's annoying because I'm trying to do that now because I know how to read notes. I just don't know how to read notes while playing the guitar. It's
if you know the names of the strings, right?
Yeah, that helps.
And then it repeats at 12, and then if you
write
figure
it
out
down
what
for me,
6
bro.
is, and then
I mean, I can now easily play scales as well because the finger placement is the same. You just move up the neck depending on both major and minor scales. So that's the easy part of it. And once you kind of have that, you kind of know where to go. And I can fairly play by ear.
Yeah.
So once I kind of hear something or I see something for the first time, I usually can play it. Not specifically on guitar, but on piano or on clarinet I can. So eventually, when I try and do that on guitar, I can kind of figure out the notes. Eventually, I just need to get it in your muscle memory. But leading it or teaching yourself to actually do it the right way means you have to start over, and that's always like the hard part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask you about your background. That's pretty cool.
Physical background.
Are there like separate lightings on each shelf?
My physical background. Yeah. Well, so I used to be in a very different room, right? Where I had.
You were on
like
the sofa, weren't you?
Well, I started out on the sofa. I had a laptop in front of me, and then I had like a laptop in front of me. I like my headset in, and then I started with like a avatar. At first, I started with a picture, then I started with like a virtual avatar thing, and then I started adding light. Then I started using my webcam, my default webcam of my laptop, and then I had the TV in the background and I had my laptop in front of me. I started streaming through Xbox first, by the way, and that was terrible. And then eventually started adding stuff. So I added a light, and then I added a different webcam. Then I started adding a mic with like the whole mount as I still have right now. But I had to break it off every time. So I had to build it up at like 9:30 so I could stream at 10, and I had to break it down because the next day it was in the living room, and then the wife didn't like it in the living room, so I had to break it down, and then I had to do that again and again and again. And then after I got the office next door, and then started building up there. I had a decent setup now, and now I have the house to myself. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna make like a decent room out of it, a decent studio out of it. So I went from a what was it, 90 centimeters desk to like now I have a 2.5 meter desk, like an IKEA hack. And then I have this wall behind me, and I put the colors in. They're all like different Philips Hue lights. They're like those bars, and some of them I put right up, and some I have 5 now because I had 2 downstairs and I had 3 upstairs. And then I want to add a few more, but now I got the ESO chair, and as you can see, the ESO chair kind of takes up all my other space. I love this chair, by the way. I've been saving for it for a while, and now that I got the new room, I thought, okay, I need a decent chair to sit in, because I was sitting like, my chair was like, there was no air or pressure left in it. So at the end of the stream, I was always like sitting down, and I had to just pull it back up every time. I thought, no, that's not going to happen.
Is it an IKEA Kallax you've got?
Yeah, a 5x5 IKEA Kallax, yeah. And then the two things on the sides are like for noise cancelling foam walls, acoustic panels. And then I had like the other room I had full of acoustic panels, because I had to be very quiet while the wife was sleeping. And I tried to make stuff soundproof, but a room soundproof it doesn't 100% make it soundproof unless you make a room and add a room. And then, so now I made it a lot better. I'm really glad with the setup. And this turned out actually perfectly. And as you can see, I put everything in there perfectly, and the colors look really awesome.
They get dusty, those black IKEA Kallaxes. How often
do you
have to dust it?
They do get dusty, yeah, especially the black ones. I do have to clean them every 2 weeks or so, yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad I got the setup, and actually got it right in time for today, actually. So I think we started at the beginning of the week. I had it finished, and I had to just do a couple more things. So finally have a decent place to hang out.
When I eventually move, I dread how long it's going to take.
So you've been trying to move since like last year. What's going on, man?
It's a long story, but
okay.
we haven't got the inheritance yet.
Okay.
Hopefully you get it sorted soon, though, because if that can take a long time, but hopefully you get it sorted soon.
So I guess we have questions from chat we can answer. We can have,
Sure.
Let's see. Also, a side note before we answer the question. So you're gonna be hosting raids, yes, in ESOU, or once a week or something, right? Or there's splashes, I think.
Splashes, yeah. So Splashes is our contact person for the ESO Vitality program.
Just as a heads up for Splash, there's this like feedback channel where people can submit anonymous feedback. I don't think a lot of people who've been using it, or at least some of them, don't know how to actually submit feedback as a raid lead. Like there was this one feedback where it was like mostly positive, like, oh, it was good, but then he started sounding tired. I'm like, bro, we're not being paid to raid lead and stuff, you know what I mean? Like, we're not customer service fucking robots, fucking being happy all the time. Like, we're human. I think people are just really bad at submitting feedback. So if you see something, like, I would just ignore it if it's like actually not constructive. I think people are just really
we
bad
actually
at that.
Based on your feedback bot, because I think she asked, right, and it was a custom bot.
I
started fiddling around with a bot on our channel as well, because I'm the IT guy that can solve the bot problems on my side. I love doing it. So we decided on making like a feedback channel one as well, and one of the feedbacks was like the moderator thing as well, and we already implemented that. So we took into that same thing into account. If people want feedback, anonymous feedback, this is the way they can do it, because some people really have that hurdle. And I think if it's anonymous, then the hurdle is a lot less. It gives everyone a chance to do it.
It is, but it opens up to, I think, a floodgate.
That's
sometimes.
true, yeah.
Like,
you have to really filter through noise and
entitlement
and discomfort.
It's so bad. But anyway, I think it's worth it though in the end.
It happens.
Like for every one weirdo, there's always like 10 more people who are like,
more weirdos.
No, not weirdos, but people who actually like, enjoy the experience and shit like that. But anyway, first question from Madigan, by the way. What is the correct pronunciation of your name? Vengian.
Vengian. That's a little bit history in the name there. It came from the Vengian. It's on my profile as well. It came from the Vengian from the Matrix, from the second Matrix movie. And I think, I'm not sure when the Matrix movie came out, but my gamer tag is an OG gamer tag, right? I don't have numbers. I never changed my gamer tag. It's been like the same since forever. And it's the name of the character in the second Matrix movie is the Vengian, and that last part, Vengian, is where my name came from. And a lot of people pronounce it like either Vengian Or some people say vegan, but just ignore that one. I've been called out multiple times, so don't worry. It's hard. Yeah, I kind of figured my last name wouldn't be the easiest, but Vengian or Vengian would be. Vengian is actually the correct pronunciations. And Lord, yeah, that's just Lord.
But you're a landowner.
Landowner. I'm a small landowner.
Own an acre on the moon.
Yeah.
Are you going to start? Are you going to start an overflow guild for new members? I guess you have a 500 member guild, so I'm assuming that's full.
Well, yeah, we're close to the 500, and we talked about that before when we reached the 500 cap the first time, and we decided against adding a new server because we had people that were inactive, right? And I'm glad we did that. Because of course, the Discord will. We have a Discord where people, where you can have more than 500 people. But once you hit the 500 cap in ESO, you have to either make a second guild and then like make an overflow. We hit the 500 cap. And then we went back to 99, 98, and then we started filtering through how many people do we actually have that are active in the guild. And we consistently stay around 490 to 495 active members in terms of that login every 15 days or less.
That's pretty good.
So as long as we keep that up, we don't need the overflow. But if we do get raised in popularity, or if we do need a ESO second guild, we can always make one. We also have people in our Discord that do trials but are not in our guild, right? We have those too. But the intentional idea is once we hit bigger, like on PC as well, if you have 2,000 people on PC, you will have at least 4 guilds running there, because otherwise it's just not possible to accommodate everyone there. And we'll eventually do the same if we do hit the 500 cap again. We'll take our management over to the guild, and then we can just populate with everyone else and just work our way through that. Yeah.
Where do you want to see ESO go in the future? I guess it's a question for everybody. Where do you want to see ESO go in the future?
Space.
Space,
ESO
okay.
Space. I would love to see ESO go, no, not space, but in terms of, depends on how do you mean in terms of content, or do you mean in terms of like the community and, and I'm guessing in terms of content.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah. I hope we can see a lot more of ESO in times to come. I do hope we have more interaction with player. It's pretty broad question as well, right? We still have enough space on the map. We have enough spaces outside of the map where we can go to, especially with like High Isle and stuff, which has been added. Yeah. If we keep getting, yeah, exactly. So we have more than enough space where we can go to.
Right.
Yeah. But I would love to see ESO grow again in terms of player base, because I think last year they hit, or this year they hit, like last year was 90 million, this year it was 20 million in terms of player base. That's a lot of player base, but I hope to eventually see more people enjoy ESO. I think it's still, in terms of games, the community is a lot less, or it's not a big community in terms of other games if you compare it. Even though it looks big, and we all know each other, right? Because we're in the same community. But I think the ESO community could definitely get a bit bigger, because a lot of people don't know about ESO, and I think they would definitely enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel like when I tell people I play ESO, they say, "Oh yeah, I used to play that, but I didn't really enjoy it." Yeah. I think it's somehow managing to get those players back to try it again.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I think that'll be the main thing. Maybe the card game will be the thing to do it. Who knows?
Yeah, for some it will, right? And it also, the downside is it's detrimental for some people as well. Some people really hate the card game, and then decide, okay, I'm going to take a year break from ESO because I hate the card game.
Well, they don't have to. No one's forcing them to play a card game.
I know, but then
I think you should try like a few games of it. In my opinion. You know what I mean?
Because that's the comment you had, right? I saw the comment lately where someone said, this expansion sucks. There's nothing for us in there. There's just some quests and that's it, because the card game is the main thing and that's not for us. And then I think Yeah, it depends on if you like it, but ESO means there's so much to do in there, and there's still so much to do in the game itself. It's
But also, like, when people bring up like they could have worked on performance over the card game, I'm just like, it's because of performance issues. It's the card game.
Yeah,
like,
to get some people away. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like, what are you supposed to do?
Right?
You know,
Yeah.
like, so lose. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. We've seen that already, right? In terms of performance, that they already upgraded. They're upgrading the servers and stuff as well. But yeah, some people don't realize is that this is a massive game, and every code that gets changed can cause like a million different other bugs, and that's with anything out there.
It does.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
It does, and that's the downside of like development and stuff, especially with games like this. We just have to have patience, and then eventually it'll get better. They do their best. That's all they can do. I would say that's all they can do, and especially with like home. I think they still work from home most of the time, so that even makes it even worse.
Yeah.
So eventually, we'll probably see some improvement here and there. It's not bad. I mean, if you look at some other games, it's definitely not bad in terms of performance. But okay, maybe because we're used to a little bit better performance, that we're just
I think
now
our server downtimes are pretty bad for an MMO.
Yes, it's and especially lately, right? It's been that's true.
Downtime? What downtime?
I mean, actually, I feel like server downtimes haven't been that bad in like the last 2 years, but there was a period around sort of 2018 to 2020 where they were really bad.
Yeah, but they're working on the servers as well, right? So they need extra downtime for specific server management and things as well.
I remember when I played WoW, it'd be like a weekly maintenance or whatever, and it would be an hour tops. And it would be in the middle of the night for every server rather than like middle of the day.
I think the best example here is but Guild Wars has their patent on it, right? The way they do server maintenance, they don't bring the server down. They say, okay, you log out, you log back in, you're done. You just download in the background, and I think that's the way they did it. It looks amazing. It works perfectly. I would say I haven't played Guild Wars after release, but I know how it worked. I think it played till Scarlet's War or something like that. But that's a system I would love to see in ESO as well. And yeah, people say is like we have NA maintenance during NA sleep times, and then we have EU maintenance during NA sleep times too, which is during our day. And yes, you could change that maybe to
It's whatever, bro. It's whatever. Are there other games you enjoy outside of ESO?
Yes, I do. So I've been playing ESO since it came out, and I have, especially at the beginning, at some time switched over to a different game. Eventually, I get sucked into ESO for a long time, and I keep playing ESO. And I think the few exceptions I had was like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I played some. I played. Cyberpunk. I completed completely. I think when I started streaming, I was just in Cyberpunk. So that's where I actually started. My first ever stream was one Cyberpunk stream on a pre-released evening, by the way.
Got banned from Twitch. Had to make a new account.
It's not PG-13. It's Well, actually, when Cyberpunk came out, for those that did play it when it came out, I found some very interesting toys at the very start of the game that were removed like 2 weeks later.
Yeah. Toys?
For those that did play it.
Sex toys? Or
yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what.
Yeah, those were not really PG-13 at the time.
I streamed at university. This would have been in like 2013. I did a 25-hour gaming marathon or whatever, and I played Saints Row, and I'm pretty sure. Stuff.
I used to play Saints Row like up until the third. Like I couldn't get into GTA, and I really loved Saints Row because it was like so over the top until they went too far, and then it just.
Yeah, the one where you could fly was a bit dumb.
Yeah, and then that's the last one I ever played. I think 4 was that maybe. And I did play some MMOs and some RPGs. There are still some things on my list, and I'm only now actually starting to. I played some Lego Star Wars on the 4th of May as a stream as well. Nice. I'm only now actually starting to play some other games as well, not only because of ESO, but not to pigeonhole myself into one very specific space. I do love ESO a lot, and I do I'm planning, if I do stream a bit more, to like make maybe a variety day. So I have one day to stream something else, and just to give some other people some experience as well. Because I love ESO, but at some point people get used to like either trials every time or dungeons every time, and then I did my what did I do? I did some surveys earlier this week, and I think I did it once, and I wanted my weekly done, and then one person decided on lovingly trolling me and said, "This is boring." It's like, yeah, you're right. It has to be done. No, I love ESO, but I love playing some other games as well. So it's I'm trying to diversify a little bit more because there are so many out there, and if you only play one game, I think it can get boring for those that are watching, and it kind of at some point can burn yourself out as well. That having said, playing like ESO like almost 99% of the time, or even 100% some months, yeah, it's it still doesn't bore me. There's always something to do. And I think that's just amazing for a game to do that. Comes mostly because of the community as well, right?
Yeah. Last question, I think. You learn another instrument.
I could definitely learn another instrument, yeah.
But would you?
So
it's not could. Would you?
Would you? Oh,
yeah,
could you? Would you?
Will you? Will you right now?
Will you? Will you right now?
Which instrument, I guess?
No, I think I will learn another instrument. That having said, guitar is definitely a thing I want to learn more because I'm not really comfortable enough to do it a lot. And I only like know 2 or 3 songs here or there, and a lot of chords and like scales, and some bits and pieces here and there. So I would love to focus on definitely my guitar first playing, and that'll probably keep me good for a while. I have started. I did piano, but my now ex-wife took the piano with her. We had an electric piano, so I'm not planning on buying a new one until I'm ready with like guitar stuff. Because otherwise, I have like too many instruments, and then I don't play any of them, and that just doesn't work. But yeah.
What about percussion? You haven't played percussion yet?
I can hold a rhythm. I can do very little. I can do some instruments on percussion, and it's like marimba and stuff is like more like piano playing. So that's kind of the same as long as it's not too many sticks. And then if I go to other kinds of percussion, I tried drums once. I would love to learn drums at some point, but yeah, that drums alone is either an electrical instrument or you need a lot of space and a very closed off room to go play drums.
Yeah. What about stuff with a bow? What do you strings?
Violin, yes.
Violin or
Violin. Yep.
For me, I'd love to play the cello, but firstly, they're very expensive, and I don't know.
It's cool. Go for it. At some point, you just go for it. But it's they're very expensive, and
10,000
string instruments. Yep. Yeah. I think a clarinet and all the violins are very, very expensive. Well, you have some starter violins you could get, for instance. It's always good to start off with something. And it's an amazing. But yeah, you're right. It's a violin is definitely also on my list at some point. But one instrument at a time, because otherwise you just keep doing it. You have to manage time management, right? It's not everything in one go.
I can't do string instruments. I just can't. I tried so hard. I just couldn't do it. I don't know why. I guess my fingers are too big, or maybe I'm just dumb.
String instruments, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe my brain just can't do it. I just can't. It's fucking. I don't know. It's hard. It's definitely hard.
Well, I have the way the guitar as well. Some chords are like sometimes I feel my fingers are too thick for specific chords as well because there's like the frets are too close, especially in electric guitar. And on acoustic it's a little bit easier, but on electric it's just like so close to each other. Massive fingers.
Yeah. They're very skinny as well, which is quite.
Oh, you have skinny fingers, yeah.
Probably iconic. What's your octave reach on a piano? I think mine's like one and 2 or 3 maybe max.
Is your hand bigger than your face?
They're very big hands, yeah.
A hand bigger than my what?
Your face.
I don't know.
If I were there, I would have pushed you there.
Oh, you mean that thing? And then okay.
Oh wait, one more, and I guess that's it. For Madigon again, I didn't know Vengian started with a avatar. What made you switch going with a live cam?
Yeah, so I was very shy, especially when I started, and before I started on mic as well. once I kind of get used to the mic bit a little bit, at some point I was kind of annoyed by the fact that my avatar, I wanted to like have it move perfectly with my mouse and stuff like that, and I did it to a certain amount, but like I think my laptop at the time didn't really like it because it takes a lot of space to actually do with an avatar, and I decided, it's easier to interact with someone on the other side if you actually can look at them and they can look back at you. I love the avatar, especially with Madigon as well. It's amazing. The lovable Khajiit. Why not?
We found out last week it's just a video.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's not a favorite.
What? It's not a video. It's
What? No, it is.
Wait, it's not a video. It's like a.
It's real. It's a face animes or something like that, right?
It's like an like a custom animation.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a face rig or anything.
No, it's the animation, and it focuses on your webcam, right? And then it knows where your face is, and then it starts to move its avatar with the face alongside. That's how I did mine as well. It's cool, but I wanted to. Oh, you have a 1 minute animation.
Yeah,
he says.
That's what you said last week, bro.
Oh, you have a 1 minute anime. It's an actual anime. Oh, I did not know that. I thought it was an actual animation because I did it the other way as well. Okay, I never noticed that.
That's the hack. If you
never noticed that
on a laptop, just make an animation instead.
Okay. Well, if I knew that, now I don't need it anymore. No. Back to no. I decided on doing it this way, and other the fact that I always wanted like a decent setup as well. I loved having the chance to do it this way, and I think it made me nervous at the start, but then again, I was already a conductor, and I was a solo clarinetist as well. So I stood in front of orchestras. I stood in front of multiple times. So why would this? For some reason, there was a hurdle for me getting over to, show my face. And eventually when I did, people were shocked the first time. Oh, I didn't know you looked at that. It's what people get the first time you see someone and you hear a voice with it. It's very different. And now everyone just knows it. And I'm glad I can do stuff like this as well. And yeah, it helped me a lot in terms of social anxiety, but also just make myself a little bit more social. And yeah, the fact, like I said, it's 2 years ago, never picking up a mic, and now just being here with you guys. It's kind of testament to what you can do. I've only been streaming for a year as well, so in that year, a lot has changed. And from like I said, only mic to camera to this, it's just
Yeah.
It's I highly recommend it if you ever want to get over the hurdle like that. It's a trick, but it's very cool.
Yeah, definitely. Before I was streaming, I definitely was quite introverted, and now I feel more confident. I can chat with people.
You're on a weekly podcast even, yeah.
Podcast.
Exactly.
True.
I think streaming helps with that a lot. I think it's an amazing tool, and people kind of underestimate it. Oh, you go live, you play games all day, It's that's what people who don't understand Twitch think that you're doing, right? But the fact that you're actually socializing with so many people, and the fact that you get to teach, you get to learn these people, and they get to give you skills back, right? You get to learn how to go around with that, and you get to learn kind of how to entertain and and Kate, keep talking. I mean, we've been talking for 2.5 hours almost? 2.5 hours already. Oh, see, that's what I said before, right? It's the fact that we've already been talking for 2.5 hours. It doesn't feel that way. And I think if I would have done that a year ago, I probably wouldn't even fill 50 minutes.
And people think that people get into streaming for the money.
Yeah,
there's no money in it.
There is no money in streaming. I'm glad I have a full-time. I'm glad I have a full-time IT job. I'm glad I have a full-time IT job because it gives me the chance to whatever I want to do on stream. It doesn't force my hand to do stuff either I don't want to do, and it gives me the chance to keep stuff free for everyone as much as I can. Of course, for those that don't know, I always loved animations on stream. So I have a massive amount of visual and sound effects. I started with sound effects, and then I started making visual effects as well. So, people can do anything from like make a boulder roll over the screen to literally slap me with a fly swatter. People can do anything. And and we have some ducks and everything, and potato as well. We have a lot of skills. People can do a lot of things, and I just love to entertain them and just have some fun. And just give guys. I mean, the world is stressful enough. I think people come here to wind down and relax, and that's exactly what I want to give them as well. Yeah. Whether we're raid leading or whether we're just doing some fun stuff.
Well, I think we can wrap it up now.
Yeah.
On that note.
Where do we find you on the internet?
Yes. Well, you can find me over at Twitch, twitch.tv/LordVengian. You can find me, well, actually, Lord Vengian is my name everywhere. I have a YouTube channel where I did used to post some shorts, and I need to get back to the YouTube thing because I didn't do a lot there. And then you can find me on Twitter as usual, and Instagram as well, and TikTok. TikTok is usually where my dad jokes end up.
Oh, the dad jokes.
Are they the same ones that you upload as your YouTube shorts?
Yes, those are the same, yeah, and YouTube shorts as well. I did use, I tried my hand on guides a while back, but I know how to do them, but I tried to focus on Twitch first, and then try to add the rest as well. Hopefully, in someday I can. And Instagram is something and Twitter where I do a daily post on my screenshots to show the world of ESO around with some stuff around as well.
Definitely recommend people follow you on Twitter for those, because those are really lovely.
I love it. It's an amazing world, and best to show it off. And some people can find me on Xbox EU as well as our companions Discord, of course, as well, which you can find in the ESOU University under the Xbox EU as well.
Perfect.
Brilliant. All right. Well, thanks very much for spending time with us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. I am probably gonna
go back to beat.
Go eat, or get some meth. All right. Well, that'll be it.
Cheers.
You get some eat. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.